Welcome to Paperweights, the podcast where two self-proclaimed gym rats and shooting enthusiasts delve into the world of literature with a sprinkle of humor. Although their biceps could crush a walnut, don't let that intimidate you. They also have a nerdy side. Mike and Brandon have a voracious appetite for reading, particularly in the fantasy genre, and they want to share their passion with you. So grab your protein shake and your favorite novel and join us for a humorous and insightful journey into the world of books with Paperweights.
Welcome back to another episode of Paperweights. I am your host, Brandon.
And I am Mike.
And today we will be finishing the thrilling
conclusion of The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah. So before we actually dive into it, we got a couple things. It's pretty cool. We're recording on Super Bowl Sunday.
It is Super Bowl Sunday.
We have an exciting Quidditch match that we're going to be talking about in today's episode. I will say in honor of Super Bowl Sunday now. Just made up. We didn't plan this out, but today on recording is also my wife's birthday. So happy birthday to my wife.
Happy birthday.
And before we actually got into the book, I know I said that already. Dude, yesterday's jiu-jitsu training was just brutal. So like it was 2 hours. I mean, there was two classes in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Two classes in a row. The first one is a fundamentals class, which is a great class to just, refresh or learn
some
just
fundamentals.
Fundamental stuff about jiu-jitsu, right? Everybody wants to do most people want to do flashy things. Like, oh yeah, this looks great. But sticking to the fundamentals, those are the things that work very well.
Gotta sweat the small stuff.
And so that one, that class was 45 minutes of drilling, and then we had time for 3 5-minute rounds at the end of it. And then we immediately went right into competition class, which was 10 rounds in a row. No rest rounds. So you go 5-minute round, you get a minute of rest. You find another partner, you go again. So all in all, 13 rounds in a row.
That sounds like I'm tired just hearing you talk about it.
Oh yeah,
that sounds exhausting.
You either quickly learn how to pace yourself well, or you never actually come back to competition class. or you come back like 2 or 3 weeks later and like do it all over again.
Right.
So all right, so I want to talk about time travel real quick.
Okay.
Because it ties into this book. I don't know. Well, I'll say whenever I'm reading or watching something that has time travel in it, and it gets to points where, like in Prisoner of Azkaban, we have an entire story that seems to come to a very big climax.
Yeah.
And then we go back in time and we rewatch some of those scenes that we were already in. And then we get to the actual conclusion of the story. It gives me a weird feeling. I can't describe the feeling. Maybe it's like it's almost like a sadness, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember going through this, but now I'm experiencing it different, and now my viewpoint of those events are changing. So what was reality then is being revealed as not actually being reality. So my reality of it, or my perception of the reality, has changed. And it's a weird feeling. And I can tell you, years ago when the butterfly effect came out, and I'm not gonna go into any spoilers or details about that movie.
That movie came out like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. There's no spoilers.
Yeah, actually more than 15 years ago. Yeah,
Yep.
my parents still lived in Baton Rouge when that movie came out,
Oh, so yeah, so if
and
they
I was
haven't seen
still
it
at
by
their
now, that's on
house.
them.
Yeah, I was still living in their house then. Um,
Yeah,
but
when did that movie come out?
I remember when that movie was, we could watch it at home, which back then, it was at least a year and a half
Mm-hmm. Yep.
from when it was in theaters before you could watch it in your house.
2004 was when that movie came out. That's 20 years ago.
Yeah. So in 2005, it must have been when I watched that movie. And the first day I watched it, I actually watched that movie 3 times.
Oh wow.
And it's because I was like, one, so many things happened in it. And I was like, what is going on? And like I was just trying to understand more stuff. And each watch through, I actually gained more stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
watching that movie, so you're like, oh, okay, this is happening. And then the time travel starts.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind is just like, I went in a weird place that day.
Hmm.
Like, after I finished watching for the third time that day, I was like, okay, let me come back to the real world. I mean, that was probably just
Gotta
because I
go
watched the
outside and
movie
touch
for
some
three
grass.
times. Um, but yeah, do you get any strange feelings when you're dealing with time travel as well?
I get anxious because I'm always worried that it's like especially like in this book when they're kind of retracing their steps. I'm always like, but what if they see themselves? Like there's like that anxiety feeling of what happens if they see themselves and they've messed something up. And I actually like how in the book they kind of address that whole thing about why it's so important, why they can't see themselves in the past. So no, it's just like that anxious of, oh God, now what's going to happen? What are they going to change? Like the whole butterfly effect. Like what happened? What are they going to what's the future going to look like if they mess something up?
Yeah. Um, so if it explained like, okay, the first time you go back in time, that person, um, that past person you don't want to see you, right?
Right.
But if any point in time where you've already gone back in time and you know that you've gone back in time and that version of you sees you, I don't think the reaction would be the same. Or maybe it could be if you're paranoid, like who's playing a trick on me?
Right.
What
I think
is
it'd be like that Spider-Man meme where like they're all three sitting there pointing at each other.
yeah. Or I mean, like polyjuice polyjuice potion exists in Harry Potter.
Hmm.
So it's like, all right, who drank a polyjuice potion and is pretending to be me?
Right.
And then like, no, I'm you. Like,
Hmm. Like whatever.
no, you're not.
What color underwear am I wearing then?
So, I will say I did think the alternative ending of Butterfly Effect was a way better ending than the one they chose to go with for the theatrical release.
I honestly don't remember if I've ever seen that movie. I know I've talked about it, so I probably have at least seen it once, but I couldn't tell you if I couldn't tell you any details about it.
I think I'm due for a rewatch of it. And the funny thing is, when it came out, it was a time when people were like bashing Ashton Kutcher as like
Yes, that was when that was
a
like
typecast.
yeah, because that wasn't that like when like
That
for that
70s show
70s
was
show.
still on, yeah.
Hmm.
So he was like typecast, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Why do you want to watch a movie with Ashton Kutcher?" Like, that movie was bomb.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I remember it like not hating it, but like I didn't think it. I don't think I remember. I don't remember enough about it to have a solid opinion of it. I
Yeah,
do know that anybody that leaves their pretty much phenomenal career, like Aston Kutcher was like at the top of the game, and then he walked away to go catch child predators with his company. He gets the tip of the hat from me. So
yeah, good guy.
good guy for all we can tell. So
Yep. All right, so chapter 12, the Patronus.
the
Um,
Patronus.
yeah, so this starts off and Wood calls Harry, Oliver Wood calls Harry in, and he's like, "Hey, look, we're thinking about replacing you because all right, McGonagall took his firebolt, so
Hmm.
he doesn't have a broomstick because his Nimbus 2000 was destroyed by the Whomping Willow. Um, and then they're just like, even if he gets a replacement, all right, well, what if the Dementors come back?
Hmm.
And he's like, no, 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 I promise you, it's gonna be good. And Lupin promised that he would teach me some defense against the Dementors, right?
Hmm.
So Wood's like, okay, all right, we'll try you. We'll try. I believe you. Um, but before that, Wood was like, I'll go talk to McGonagall and we'll get your broomstick back.
Well,
It's like,
he was like he wasn't even just saying like I'll go talk to her. He was like super keyed up the fact that Harry had gotten a firebolt.
oh yeah.
He was like, he's like, really a firebolt on our team? Yeah, McGonagall's got to let you have that back, man. Like that, she wants to. She'll see that she's being ridiculous, and she'll let you have your broomstick back. I just know it, and I'm like, but come on, bud. Like I know you like really want to win, but if they think Sirius Black sent this firebolt to him, there's no way she's gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, just go ahead and take it.
Yeah. And so after he convinces Wood that he's gonna learn how to defend against the Dementors, he goes and sees Professor Lupin, who's going to teach him the Patronus charm.
Hmm.
And I have to believe that J.K. Rowling wrote this intentionally.
I would hope she wrote it intentionally. I mean, it's in the book,
Yeah, but the fact that Harry failed twice and succeeded on the third one, so third time's a charm
right?
for the Patronus charm.
Hmm.
It works too well for her not to have
Right.
intended the pun, right?
Yeah.
Um,
A little tongue in cheek there.
yeah. Let's see. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. So when he actually does, they practice on a boggart who's does come out of the chest as a Dementor, as
Hmm.
Harry feared it would,
Hmm.
right? And so the first two times it failed. The third time it was just like a wisp
Yep.
that came out. And I thought this was interesting because the boggart doesn't just appear as your biggest fear, right? It seems to actually take on the qualities and aspects of that fear.
Yeah. It kind of it literally becomes that thing.
Right. And I believe that because the Dementor reacted to the
Hmm.
Patronus.
Yeah.
Unless a boggart will react to a Patronus the same way as a Dementor does.
I don't know. I don't know if that was more. We've mentioned this a couple times with the way she writes some things in. I don't know if that's plot armor for to be able to give Harry a thing to practice on and have it actually work, or if that is truly um there's something like a shapeshifter, in you know like fantasy will it will actually take on the true characteristics of the thing it shifts into, except for that fact that silver will always hurt it, but that's neither here nor there. So I think that that's kind of, I wonder if that's what it is, like because it takes it kind of reads your mind. I wonder if that's part of the magic of the boggart is because it can read your mind, know what you're truly afraid of, if it kind of truly becomes that thing.
Yeah, I know in so in Dungeons and Dragons, like a druid's wild shape,
Hmm.
they gain the physical aspects
Hmm.
of it, but they're your intelligence and your knowledge stays the same, right?
Right.
But a polymorph spell actually transforms you into whatever creature you get transformed
Hmm.
into. Like I remember one of my characters got transformed into something called, I think it was a Thry-Queen, but it's like this um crab insect type thing.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
it couldn't speak the common language. And so like I I'm in the party and we're in a battle and I get transformed into this thing. And some people didn't see me get transformed into it, right?
That's
So
funny.
now the party members are like, okay, what the hell is this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And they're about to like attack me, and I can't even communicate. All I can do is like make clicking noises. Like what they hear me saying is
Right.
clicking noises. Um,
So
but
here's kind of off topic here, but if the Boggart transforms into the thing you're afraid of and it begins to take on the physical attributes and acts like that thing, then why didn't Lupin start to transform whenever that full moon showed up?
I don't know. Maybe does it have to actually be like, the tide
A
just because
true full moon?
just because there's a full moon appearing in the sky, right? The tides aren't going to change.
Right.
So maybe werewolf or, uh,
I'm just
lycanthropy
I'm just
is
saying.
attached to the gravitational pull of the moon. So it
Or maybe
actually requires the moon to
or
be in its full form.
or maybe it's the more tied to the or that's probably exactly what you're saying though. Maybe it's more tied to the actual lunar cycle and not just a random full moon.
Yeah, because then also it
Because
would
that magic's super old, so
you could see a picture of a moon and be like,
right.
I'm
Oh,
transforming.
I
That
don't
would
know.
that
Just
would
something I thought
suck.
of. That
That
really
would
would.
suck.
Walking through a museum. Oh, here's like Van Gogh's Starry Night. Son of a
Or you're just walking down the road and somebody goes, "Aha!"
right.
You're like, "Oh God!"
Can you imagine like one of your buddies like knows you're a werewolf and he just comes running up to you? Gotcha.
Or some paranoid person is always
Golly, that'd be terrible.
you got some doomsday person who's like, "Oh man, there's werewolves everywhere," and
Yeah,
just
just
like
running around.
always showing a picture of a moon,
Just
and
keeps it
all of
just
a
keeps it
sudden,
on his phone.
like 15 people on the streets transform into werewolves.
That would be horrible.
um, let's see. So after that, the I wanted to mention memories real quick because in order for the Patronus to work, he has to think of a happy memory, right?
Hmm.
And so, like the first happy memory he gets to is the moment when he first rode a broomstick.
Right.
I was like, okay, that's you find that super happy. I mean, yeah, it's a happy
I mean he
moment, but
did.
then so he had fainted after that one. The second memory he came up with was his feelings when Gryffindor had won the house championship last year.
Hmm.
And he's like, that definitely qualifies as happy. No, wasn't great enough. And
That's
so,
also the time that he started realizing that he was hearing his mother scream. Wasn't this whenever he finally was like starting to hear like her voice and Voldemort? Like when that he was starting to hear both voices in his head.
um, do, do, do,
I'm almost positive this is whenever he starts hearing both of their voices in his head.
yeah, I think he starts to hear, um, I think he starts to hear Voldemort's voice as well, because he heard his mom's voice the last two times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he heard his mom's voice. He didn't realize it on the train. Then he definitely recognized his mom's voice at that first Quidditch match.
Yeah, he said he said he hears a man's voice. Then came a new voice, a man's voice shouting, panicking, and it's he heard his dad. That's what it was.
Oh yeah,
That's what
um,
it was. He heard his dad. I knew he heard another voice.
yeah. I didn't. So it's actually interesting here that Harry is actually learning more about his parents uh, in the night that they died through the Dementors.
Yeah.
Like he's getting all this expose.
He's getting. But I mean, like he's getting information that I'm not sure I would want if my parents had been killed violently. Yeah.
Oh, oh yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
he's hearing their final moments as they died. I'm like, The kid's what, 13 at this point. I don't know if that's information I'd want.
No, I don't think I would either. Um, we at that point, Lupin reveals that he was friends with James Potter, and so Harry's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. What was
Well,
my
did
dad like?"
he ask, well, did you know Sirius? And he's like, why would I know Sirius? It's like, well, I know that my dad was friends with Sirius, and you're saying you knew my dad, so
Right.
like, I know I'm only a kid, but I mean, I can. This is math I can do. Like, if you knew my dad, I know like Sirius Black was the best man at my dad's wedding. You were friends with my dad.
Did did Harry already go and look at that picture? Was that the last section?
Yeah, that was the last section.
Okay. All right. All right. So the third happy memory comes, and it's the charm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he first found out he was a wizard and would be leaving the Dursleys' house.
Yeah,
And
should
lo
have
and
gone with that one
behold,
first.
yeah, he should have. I mean, like, doesn't have to stay at the Dursleys' house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the happiest memory ever if I'm Harry,
Right.
up until that point of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so now he has some idea of the Patronus
Right.
in his pocket now. So we move on, and they're talking with Hermione about classes, and I found this one to be extremely funny because Hermione is talking about she's looking through like arithmancy charts, rune
Mm-hmm.
dictionaries, and diagrams from her Muggle studies book,
Right.
and it said diagrams of Muggles lifting heavy objects. So I was like,
They're powerlifting.
they're powerlifting or physical education? Is this is this what she's studying? Is she studying anatomy and physiology and trying to?
What it was probably just it was a book from West Side.
I wonder if she saw Louis.
Right. Louis Simmons talking about the conjugate method.
She's like, "What is all this? I was a Muggle and I never learned this." Oh man. Um. Oh, and this is where Ron is starting to really worry about Hermione because she's like, "Yeah." He notices she's never missed any of the classes that she
Mm-hmm.
has scheduled with him, but he's also talked to other students that are in the other classes scheduled
Right.
at the same time as her,
Mm-hmm.
or it's the same time of the classes he
Right.
has.
And she's never missed
And
them.
he says she never missed them. And she's like, how is this possible? Like,
Right.
um, something's weird. Okay. Um, let's see.
And she is stressed to the gills. Like
Oh yeah.
she's the most high tension person in this book at this point because she's taking so many classes and she is such a perfectionist that she is to the breaking point right now.
So my question when I think about it is this: why doesn't she use the time turner 3 times? One for the first class, one for the second class, three for a nap.
Because it's Hermione and she's like the perfect student. She probably thinks sleep is for the weak.
Oh man, but every smart person, I mean, I guess we realize this too. We run ourselves into the ground and we're smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
As as smart as we are about all things, but like physicality, we're like, oh yeah, I don't feel that great, but you know what? I have to go train.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just like we'll train the recovery out of ourselves, right?
Right.
So
Burn the
maybe
gas.
maybe she's experiencing that same thing with schoolwork. Uh, Harry has an oddball thought here. Where um, let's see, who was it suggested? Somebody suggested that Harry could buy a Nimbus 2001, and he's like, "I'm not buying anything that Malfoy thinks is good."
Well, that's whenever Wood comes back saying, "Hey, McGonagall said what she said. McGonagall said I have my priorities in the wrong place because she said, "What if the broomstick threw him off?" And his response to her was, "Well, as long as he caught the snitch first, that's fine."
Yeah, but
Dude,
I still think Harry is like it's stubbornness for the sake of
Mhm.
stubbornness. It's like I'm not buying it. If he thinks it's good, I'm
Right.
not buying it. Okay,
Well,
well,
that's
say it
his
says.
quote unquote mortal enemy at this point. Like
Yeah.
there's nobody in this book, with the exception of Voldemort, that he hates more than Malfoy. Because Malfoy and Snape, I guess, because they're always going after him.
Hmm. Uh, let's see. At the end of the chapter, Harry does get the firebolt back.
Mhm.
They've done all the testing that they can, and it's like, yep, we didn't find anything. Um, and and then Harry, he's got this awesome idea. He's like, you know what? Uh, we should make up with Hermione.
Mhm.
She was only trying to help. Like, okay, you think so?
Yeah, now that he's got his broomstick back, now he wants to go back and be friends with her.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I guess it was necessary. So, miss anything important about the Patronus?
No, I thought it was interesting that not necessarily the Patronus, but like this whole thing with the firebolt. Like it's so different from the movie, because in the movie the firebolt's, like I said, the last thing that shows up, and here they didn't really make it like an integral part of the book, but they made it important because we're it shows up after, right after Harry's broomstick goes flying off and gets destroyed, and we know that he had seen a black dog at the beginning of that match right before the Dementors showed up, and now all this other stuff's happening with the in the book around Sirius Black. So I find it interesting that they changed it so much from the movie about the broomstick, when it kind of does not really, like, again, not that it's really important, but it does kind of like clue in a couple things later, if that makes any sense, or if I'm just rambling. I don't know.
No, I mean, I think it adds a lot of tension
Yeah,
to to
the
it
whole
because
relationship too.
yeah, and I mean, most of the characters in Gryffindor and let's face it, the other two houses
Hmm.
besides Slytherin are like, man, Griff Slytherin cannot win the Quidditch Cup again,
Right.
and then especially the Gryffindor or Wood is like,
Hmm.
this is my last chance ever to win the Quidditch Cup, and
Yeah.
I won it. And the fact that Harry doesn't have his broomstick,
Well, he did. It's almost selfish that Harry wouldn't order another broomstick.
oh, absolutely.
Because he didn't buy the Nimbus. That was gifted to him, and then all of a sudden this firebolt shows up and it's taken away. Like, he has the money, and I don't know if it's selfish or if he just has that mentality of, I do I really have the money to buy another broom,
Hmm.
even though he had said in the beginning of the book that he could have bought a firebolt, but I don't know. I just, like, to me, it was almost just like selfish for the sake of being selfish. He was just like, maybe he was just so sure that he would have the broomstick back before the next match. But
Oh yeah, yeah, I get you. So on to Gryffindor versus Ravenclaw. Um, got a few fun things to discuss here.
well,
So
we get a new character too,
Cho Chang,
Cho Chang.
Cho Chang,
We get our first intro to Cho Chang here.
yeah, who's that almost sounds wrong to say, but uh,
Well, that's just JK has a lot of character issues, because she's got Cho Chang, which is a very stereotypical, slight, Asian sounding name. But then you have the Irish kid,
Seamus
Seamus,
Finnegan.
that likes to blow stuff up. I mean, come on. Like,
So yeah, we learned that Cho Chang is Ravenclaw's Um,
Seeker.
Seeker, yeah.
And Harry thinks she's cute.
Yeah. He would. He would. Uh Madam Hooch obsesses over the fireball, and
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Oh man, it's got this, this,
Yeah.
this." Like it reminds me of an episode. I guess they're episodes now of Fast and Furious.
Oh yeah.
Or did you ever watch the movie Hackers
Oh
from
yeah.
the 90s?
Absolutely.
It's like when they go to the house party and into her bedroom and
Mm-hmm.
are looking at her new laptop while she's making out with a dude on the
Yeah.
bed, and they're like, "Oh man, this has got risk architecture. This is
Yeah. Like
crazy." You
this,
know?
this is a 16-bit processor. It's like, oh God, how old is it? Like you
I
seriously, you watch that movie now and you listen to the specs that they're like geeked out about. You're like, oh my God, my cell phone has more power than that.
Oh, absolutely. I watched that movie. My wife had never watched it before. We watched it the other night, and yeah,
It's
there was
crazy.
one part where it's like, oh yeah, when he was a kid and
Hmm.
why he wasn't able to have a computer until his 18th birthday was because
Right.
he did something that shut down 1,600 computers.
Hmm.
It's like back back in the day, that was a lot. I mean,
Yeah, it
and it's
was.
some Wall Street Journal, not Wall Street Journal, Wall Street
Hmm.
computers. So, like it affected the stock market, it affected all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But the fact that 1,600 computers, I mean, these days, if it's the right 1,600 computers,
Right.
then okay. But yeah,
There's 1,600 computers in my neighborhood. I mean,
right. In Matthew Lillard's character, he said at one point, he's like, we're living in the age of the future, man. You could just like be doing nothing, and your name goes through like I think he said 5 or 25 computers in a
whatever.
day.
Yeah,
I was
whatever it
like,
was.
it's like, yeah, your name goes through so many more computers now these days.
I think one of my favorite scenes from that movie, besides the one where they're like geeking out about the laptop, was when they're in the little hacker like club.
Battle.
No,
Oh,
in that little club, and oh boy starts pulling out all the random books out of his bag.
oh yeah, yeah,
And I don't remember anybody's name, but like the main guy, the zero cool,
yeah.
he's
Or
like going through the
Crash
list.
Override,
Yeah,
as he's called later on.
he's like naming off the books, and they're all like staring at him like, who is this guy and why does he know this? But there was the one who's like, whatever the name of the book was, he's like, otherwise known as the big red book that doesn't fit on a bookshelf.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like the one where he's like so called due to the nasty shirt that the guy is wearing on the cover.
Hmm.
That one was a funny one too. Um,
So
so
Madam Hooch is going crazy about his firebolt and
yeah, yeah. So like, all right, broomsticks.
mhm.
We need to discuss this. What qualities make the broomstick better than another? Like how?
I don't know, man. I think it would be like it's probably just different magic. Like maybe like, or just look at it like cars. Like maybe the wood that they use for the handle is lighter or stronger or more aerodynamic, or maybe the way they shape the broom bristles at the end of it are different. Because like even if you watch the movie, like the broom is shaped completely different than the Nimbus. Like everything about it.
Yeah,
And I do wish they would have told us in the book that these brooms have like foot pedals on them. Because then like they show up in the movie and they've all got these foot pedals on them. Like, what in the world's going on here?
so one, if we're gonna discuss aerodynamics, you put a person on top of a
Look, man,
broomstick.
you asked.
No, I know, but that's why I want to discuss this because it's like, okay, if it's aerodynamics, then that's out of the window because the biggest issue with the aerodynamics of riding a broomstick is the person sitting on top of the broomstick.
Maybe that's why the Seekers are always small.
Maybe so. Uh, but if it's the magic that's put on the broomstick, um, why not just disenchant the broomstick and do the better enchantment on them?
Because it's a kids because it's a kids book, Brandon.
And And the broomstick manufacturers need to make money, right?
Exactly. So
Like, yeah,
look,
we have the magical technology to make them better, but you know what? We want them to buy this one first.
look, we
And
got
next
a
year we're
Pinto and a
gonna
Porsche will get you to the same place, but one costs more than the other, and one will
yes,
get you there faster.
yes. So I guess we'll never know really. Just one of those things you have to take, right?
Hmm.
Um, it is nice though. It is the parallel of like a car or a motorcycle, something,
Yeah,
something racing. Um,
maybe a motorcycle. Let's go with motorcycle.
yeah, motorcycle.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right, so they had their best practice ever, right?
yeah. I think everybody was fired up because Harry's on a fire bolt.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
uh, let's see. Oh, Harry did invite Ron to practice so that Ron could actually ride on the firebolt after practice. Um, and so he does get to ride on the firebolt, right?
Hmm.
Let's
Because of
see.
course you're gonna let your buddy ride your motorcycle right after you get it, right?
Oh yeah, why
Sure.
not? I mean, of course he's gonna crash it too, and
But at least Ron knew how to fly a broomstick.
yeah, at least he
So
didn't send himself to the what hospital ward.
yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't crash it and break the broomstick and go to the
I
hospital.
I've known a few people that they a friend got a new motorcycle and another friend was like, I'm gonna ride it, and then all of a sudden the motorcycles crash and the
Mhm.
friend riding it is in the hospital. I'm like, luckily not none of them died, but
It's
it's
like
like,
maybe you should have asked, "Hey, do you know how to ride a motorcycle first?"
don't you have to take a class?
To
Isn't
get
it
what
like another license or
it's
something?
an endorsement on your license, and like you don't have to take the class; it's just a test.
Okay.
But I know like Louisiana has a writing portion of the test. Like you have to show them you do know how to. It's like the driving test, only you just do it in a parking lot and they just stand there and watch you. Because that would be.
Okay.
Can you imagine going to take the riding test on a motorcycle? You pull up on like a Ninja 1000, and some big old dude my size is like, all right, budge up there. I got to get down behind you. All right, let's get on the highway. Come on. That would be an awkward writing test.
um, so then we get into the match, and the
Mhm.
match is crazy.
The
So
match is crazy.
um, everybody is just like hitting each other. Nobody's, I'll say no, not nobody, but rarely is anybody scoring a direct score, right? So most of the Quidditch matches we watched so far have just been, all right, and so threw it through the hoop. Most of the points that are being scored here are coming from penalty shots. Um, right?
I thought that was a Slytherin match
Oh, no, you're right. You're right.
because the Slytherin match is the one where this one is this
Um,
one's kind of crazy because um everybody's super excited about it, and
oh
like
yeah, Harry and
Raven.
Cho are having a nice little
Yes,
battle.
because those two, because Cho decided that instead of like just going after the snitch herself,
She'd follow where Harry went.
she's going to just follow Harry and see if she can outfly Harry. And then I did think it was kind of funny that Penny and Percy have a side bet going of 10 galleons. And then Percy grabs Harry before the match. He's like, please win. I don't have 10 galleons to pay her. So and then Malfoy's like trying to give him crap, be like, "You sure you can handle that broom?" And I do love the snapback that Harry gives Malfoy because Malfoy's just going on and on talking about it's a shame it doesn't have a parachute for when you fall off, and Harry's like, "It's a shame you can't attach an extra arm. Maybe that'll catch the snitch for you." It's like, Boom, got him.
right in the kisser.
Yep.
Um,
So yeah, so that's all it was Harry takes his wand to the Quidditch onto the Quidditch pitch for the first time, and Cho is like everywhere Harry goes, she goes, and Wood's like yelling at him, like because she like it's a few times she like goes right in front of him, and he's
yeah.
like, "Oh, my bad, I'm sorry," and Wood's like, "What are you doing? Knock her off her broom."
Uh, so I guess it's during, is it during the match that he thinks he sees the Grim again, or is it
No,
after?
it's after the match
Okay,
because at this
but
like this one like they're going back and forth and back and forth, and whenever he finally does see the snitch, he's like taking off after the snitch, but then out of the corner of his eye, he sees the Dementors.
right, and then he casts the
Hmm.
Patronus, uh, catches the snitch. I think he still passes out, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't.
Okay,
Because what happens is because he even talks about it, how it was like so weird that he didn't have any of the he sees the Dementors, feels almost nothing, and he's like, huh, that's weird. And he like basically like like in the movies when people run away, they're like shooting over their back. I kind of got the impression that's almost how he cast this Patronus because he's going after the snitch like full speed, like throws the Patronus charm just kind of like behind him at the Dementors so he could keep going after the snitch and catches the snitch and he's like, "Oh, I felt almost nothing about the Dementors. Like that's so cool. They had no effect." And they're like, "Yeah, you may want to come look."
does so I just thought of this. Why did none of the professors or anybody be like, "Hey, Harry, why did you cast a Patronus and who taught you this?"
Right. Like they just kind of roll with it. Like nobody questioned it at
In
all.
plain sight, like you're gonna see somebody cast a spell. So he ends up catching the snitch and they win.
Hmm.
Um, and so then Hermione is still where's this? Hermione still has a beef with um, Ron. And so after the match, um, Harry gives the firebolt to Ron to ride,
Hmm.
and but let's see, is this?
No, they flew it earlier.
Oh, they okay.
They're now
So
they're having they go
sorry.
back and they're having a party.
Yeah, I got it.
Mhm.
That's so I there was something I was going to mention, but I got the order out. Um, when they were coming back from practice, Harry thought he saw the Grim, but it actually out of the corner of his eye.
Right.
Like he saw eyes gleaming out of the darkness, and he thought it was the Grim,
Hmm.
which I'm not entirely sure it's not anymore. Um,
I would agree with that.
he he went, oh, it's just Crookshanks.
Hmm.
But from what we know later on, that Sirius befriended Crookshanks,
Hmm.
it totally could have been the Grim still, and
100%.
Crookshanks is just there.
Hmm.
All right, so that's there. Do 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 do. Uh, so afterwards, the Gryffindors are celebrating after the match, and Ron wakes up to somebody holding a knife above him, and like freaks out. And is this where there's blood on the sheets as well?
No.
Okay, that's later as well. Sorry, I'm
Hmm.
I'm remembering a whole lot of stuff, but mixing them up. Uh, and we do find out that Neville wrote down all the week's passwords on a sheet of paper
Hmm.
and dropped it.
Lost
He's
it.
like, "Oh, I lost it."
Hmm.
Um,
Well, Ron wakes up to Sirius Black holding a knife over him and is like
yes,
screaming and wakes up everybody and everybody's like, you were dreaming. He's like, I know what Sirius Black looks like, and he was standing over me with a knife. Like,
yeah. So he thinks he thinks Sirius Black was about to kill him.
hmm
I wrote down somebody because I could when I was reading it, I couldn't remember if Sirius actually was over there,
Mhm.
like, or if Pettigrew. I couldn't remember if Sirius was actually
Mhm.
the one that was showing up and people were thinking
Right.
is him, or if it was Pettigrew that was there and people were thinking Pettigrew was
Mhm.
black. So,
But
um,
I think at this point we've already had Scabbers disappear and the blood's in the room because that was the whole that was the whole fight that Ron and Hermione had right before this was he's like no because Scabbers is gone and she doesn't even care and Hermione's just like breaking down but that's also why nothing happened to Ron as we find out later whenever Sirius Blacklight threw open the curtains with the knife he's getting ready to like and he's like oh wait the thing I'm looking for is not here and he just runs
right.
away.
I'd agree.
But I love how they're like, it was not Sirius Black. And so they go to the portrait to talk to Sir Clangy, Sir Cottigan. Did you like, did you just let a man into the tower? And he's like, of course I did. He had all the passwords written down on a piece of paper. Why wouldn't I let him in? And they're like, oh,
Yeah, I highlighted this. I can't remember. Oh, so it's after the match. I can't remember why I highlighted this, but Harry stared, lying in a crumpled heap on the ground were Malfoy, Crabbe, Goyle, and Marcus Flint, the Slytherin team captain, all struggling. Oh,
that was
okay.
earlier from whenever he cast the Patronus and because it said he cast the Patronus straight at the Dementors and they showed him afterwards that it was just Malfoy and his crew all dressed up like Dementors, and
I
they had all like
got you.
fallen on
That,
top of each other.
that's right. So a Dementor didn't actually show up. That's why
Right.
he's like, oh, that's weird. I don't feel anything.
Hmm.
three, three, three midgets in a long coat. Is that?
Basically,
I
all stacked
want
up
to
on
see
top
it.
of each other.
All dogs go to heaven, didn't it? They pull that trick too.
Um, I think
Yeah,
Oliver and Company too.
yeah. I think it was in. Yeah, I don't think I watched Oliver and Company, but I
You've never seen Oliver and Company?
no.
Watch that movie today. Like
Uh,
that. Watch that movie today. I know it's
should
your
we
wife's
end?
birthday.
Should we end this podcast and I go watch it?
I almost feel like we should. If you've never, you've never. It is, dude. That's the soundtrack alone. Like you know how everybody talks about Tarzan and how Phil Collins like went off on the Tarzan soundtrack.
Uh-huh.
That is what Billy Joel did on the Oliver and Company soundtrack. He just absolutely that is a phenomenal soundtrack.
Gotcha. I'll have to check it out. Um, so moving on to chapter 14, Snape's Grudge. Uh, at this point, Ron is enjoying some fame by being nearly killed by um, Sirius Black, and everybody's on edge. There's
Mm.
security trolls,
Well, because the
roaming
fat
the
lady's back.
halls. What?
The fat lady's back. They've
uh,
restored her portrait. They
Oh yeah,
replaced they put her back and they sent the goofy knight away.
because he couldn't be trusted.
Yeah, because at least the fat lady like she recognized Sirius Black and she was like you're not getting in here and then the knight's like no go on in bud.
No, you got the
So
password. Good.
yeah,
It's like it's like Star Wars. It's like it's an older one, sir, but it
yeah,
checks
but
out.
checks out.
um, then the boys get invited to Hagrid's for tea. At which
Hmm.
point Hagrid's like, "Sit down, boys. Let me tell
he,
you something about girls.
he
Girls are fragile."
tries to have a little heart to heart with them.
Yeah. At which point, and he's like, "Y'all should really make up with her. Her feelings are hurt, etc., etc." Um, which was funny.
I also think it's funny that he's like Ron's all but the Crookshanks ate Scabbers and he's like yeah it's a cat you had a rat
Yeah,
But
why
then,
are you gonna be angry about a cat doing
but
whatever a cat does?
but then we also find out that Hermione has been going down to see Hagrid and still helping Hagrid with the Buckbeak case.
Yes.
So she's obviously using the Time Turner for not just her studies, but also to help out Hagrid. So she's getting like 30 hours a day in a 24-hour window.
Oh, at least.
Mm-hmm.
At least. Um, but then we learn that Hermione is actually hiding behind a wall of books in Hagrid's in Hagrid's cabin. Uh,
Yeah, because she pops
because
up talking about the
you
whole
can't go to
Hogsmeade.
Hogsmeade.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, you cannot go to Hogsmeade. I will tell. I will tell on
Well,
you.
so they're already back up at the castle. She's not in Hagrid's house. It happens real quick because it says they spent the rest of their visit discussing Gryffindor's chance of the Crouch Cut, and at 9 o'clock, Hagrid walked them back up to the castle. So she's not in Hagrid's place. They're in the common room.
Okay. Oops.
Oops,
Those
words.
Yeah. I get tripped up sometimes like that. It's like all of a sudden a quick change of
Yeah,
place, and I'm like, okay, well, I missed that.
yeah. She does that a lot where they just
It's
like.
done.
I mean, seriously, like one sentence, and they're back in the castle. Like
Yeah,
not
just
even just back in the castle; they're back in the common room already.
yeah. Um, so anyway, she was sitting behind books, listening to them talk about sneaking back into Hogsmeade. Um, and Harry's like, but I'm gonna take the invisibility cloak this time.
Mhm.
And she's like, no, you can't. And so he's like, all right, I won't go.
Well, Ron's like, so you're going to get Harry expelled? Like, it's
Like,
just,
first you took his broomstick, and now you want to have him expelled.
yeah,
Like, what is your deal, woman?
that's basically like, it's so bad between those two.
It is. It's almost like there's
Some tension.
some intimate, passionate tension between the two of them, which we still have yet to really see.
Well, we don't get that until like way later in the
Yeah.
book, like way later.
Yeah, I will tell you well, I'm not gonna uh so then Harry, they go, all the other kids go off to Hogsmeade, and Harry's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go. And he's standing at the witch's statue, and he's about to go in, and then Neville is like, hey, Harry, what are you doing? He goes,
Mm-hmm.
oh crap, I forgot Neville stayed behind too. Yeah, I'm on my way to the library to write this essay. Oh, good. I'm gonna come with you because I need to write it too.
He's like, oh, wait.
Oh, wait, no, I just remembered. I already did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Snape shows up. And then
Dead.
they're like, okay, well, we're gonna go back to um the common room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then he goes, and I believe he tells Neville that he forgot something. And so he goes back. Um, that's how he gets away from Neville.
Yeah, he said he left his vampire essay in the library.
Yeah. So he goes
Like,
off. He goes.
Neville's like dense because he's like, oh, okay, well, cool. Let's go work on the essay. Oh, wait, I already finished it. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the common room. Hey, I left it in the library. Like, these are weak excuses, like all day long. Weak sauce.
Neville turns out to be a great guy, though. We'll see
Yeah,
that.
Neville's pretty solid.
Um, so anyway, he goes back, goes through the witch's statue, comes out to Honeyduke's, um, then has a nice little bromance in
He
Hogsmeade.
he has a day date with
Ron.
Ron.
Yeah, in his invisibility cloak.
Mm-hmm.
They end up walking out to the Shrieking Shack, and they're talking about it. It's like, yeah, Fred and George said nobody can get into that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which I found interesting because, I mean, we do learn later on that they built the Shrieking Shack um, for Lupin.
Mhm.
So it's not as old as like Hermione was saying it was. Or rather, she didn't. I don't think she said it was old. I
Right.
think
She
she
said it was
said
the
it
most
was the
haunted
most
place.
haunted.
Mhm.
But I took that as it's old.
Right.
And so while they're there, um, Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle show up and like, "What are you doing, Weasley?"
Mhm.
And it being next to the Shrieking Shack, Harry's like, "Oh man, this is the perfect place,
Yeah.
perfect time for this prank." And starts throwing mud. They start messing with all three of them,
Mhm.
and then he goes to trip, I think, Crab or Goyle, and it catches his uh, cloak, and it pulls it down off his head,
Yeah.
and Malfoy sees it, his head just
Mhm.
floating there. And he's like, "Oh my god,
Right.
it's what the hell?" And so then Harry's like, "Oh my god, I gotta go back."
Mhm.
And here's the thing. It must take Harry so much longer to go through the secret route
Right.
than
And
it
just
does.
taking this running straight there.
Yeah, because he gets back and he's like, he gets back into the room and he's like, "Oh god,
Mhm.
Snape already knows."
Right.
I was like, "No." Um,
And this is another thing that's like so different from the movie because in the movie, this scene happens the first time they go to Hogsmeade. And like, so then Harry in the movie, Harry doesn't go back a second time. And so this whole thing about the Shrieking Shack and then Malfoy seeing him was in actually Malfoy didn't even see him in the first one or whenever this happens. He's messing with them and Malfoy and them go off because they think that the Shrieking they think that it's haunted. But in this one, he sees him and runs back and tells Snape, and that's when Snape comes up and finds the map, which doesn't which anyway, it's just one of those things where they're combining things in the movie that they don't combine here, and it messes with my head.
yeah, I could see a reason for combining some of those, you know,
Yeah.
especially since the movie is as long as it is.
Hmm.
So Snape calls him into the office, right?
Yep.
And he's like, "Empty your pockets," or, but like before that, he's like, "Malfoy says he saw your head
Hmm.
in Hogsmeade." He's like, "What? Why would he see that?" Right? He's like, "Because you know." I don't know, but if he saw your head, then the rest of your body would be there too.
And well, it's Harry's interaction here with like he's like such blatant disregard for the Snape as a professor because he's like, well, maybe he go to better see Madame Pomfrey, and then he says maybe he was hallucinating. Like, can you imagine? Like, if I had been 13 and talked to a teacher like that, I would have just gotten knocked across the head and sent like suspended. And Harry's just like running off at the mouth at Snape, and they're just like, that's okay.
uh, Snape's still not believing him. Snape's like, "No, you were there, and I'm gonna find proof of it." So he's like, "Empty your pockets," and he
Hmm.
pulls out the map. And he's like, "Oh, what's this?" It's a parchment paper, and Snape casts a spell to reveal its secrets, and then uh, Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs all take turns
Insulting Snape.
insulting Snape. Like what? Let's see here. Oh
Well,
yeah, so Professor. Go ahead.
but well, I was gonna say we kind of blew past that. You know, I was talking about how like Harry is like running off at the mouth at Snape, and then Snape says something about how Harry is so like his dad. He thinks that he says how extraordinarily like your father you are, Potter. He too is exceedingly arrogant. A small amount of talent on the Quidditch field made him think he was a cut above the rest of us, strutting around the place with his friends and admirers and Harry like basically yells at him, "My dad didn't strut," and then Snape starts talking about it, and Harry yells, "Shut up," to Snape, and he's like, "Excuse me."
I
He's like,
mean,
"I
at
know what
this
happened. My dad saved your life, and you're just jealous." And he's like, "Do you know why your dad had to save my life? Like it wasn't because he was just a good guy."
right. But I mean, look, at this point, Harry's heard it from too many people that his his father and
Hmm.
his mother were such and such, right?
Right.
So it is a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
And
Well, and then he knows that, like, he already knows that Snape didn't like his dad, doesn't like him, and so, like, again, like, this is the only other person. Harry's got three people that he knows for a fact don't like him: Voldemort, Malfoy, and Snape. So, like, to hear it coming from Snape, he's like, "I this is it. I can't do this anymore. I'm done with you."
yeah, yeah. Good catch. Professor Snape commands, says, he says, Professor Severus Snape, master of this school, master of this school,
Yeah.
commands you to yield the information you conceal, and hits the map with them on. And then I love these insults. Mr. Mooney presents his compliments to Professor Snape and begs him to keep his abnormally large nose out of other people's business.
I like that all the handwriting showed up different.
Yeah, yeah,
Like that, to me, that was a nice touch. Was that all? So it's very plain that there are different people involved in this because the handwriting for all of them is different.
yeah. Mr. Prongs agrees with Mr. Mooney and would like to add that Professor Snape is an ugly git. Mr. Padfoot would like to register his astonishment that an idiot like that ever became a professor.
That's crazy.
Mr. Wormtail bids Professor Snape good day and advises him to wash his hair, the slime ball.
So, like, to me, like, if Snape was like knew all of these people in school, wouldn't he have recognized their handwriting?
Probably.
That was my thought. Like, he's seeing all this stuff being written. Like, wouldn't he have recognized their handwriting?
But look, hey, how many years is this now?
Just saying. But this is Snape we're talking about.
How many years is this?
I don't know, probably 20 at least.
Can you remember your friend, or not even your friend, your adversary's handwriting from 20 years ago?
But and the only reason why I'm even pointing this out is because it's Snape, and like he is got it. He's so got it out for Potter and this crew that I feel like that would have been plausible that he would have remembered one of their handwritings looking at this.
Possible. But I can't remember anybody's handwriting from, you know, even 5 years ago. Hell, people don't even like really write much anymore. So
No, but in here they write everything.
yeah. All right. So then Snape calls in Lupin. He's like, "Look at this. What do you make of this?" And Lupin's like, "Well, it looks like a piece of parchment that just insults the user. They try to reveal its secrets."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "No, it's not." Um, and so Lupin's like saves uh saves Harry from Snape's office at this point.
Well, and I think so. Here's another reason why I think maybe Snape did recognize something on here is like he says, Lupin got an odd closed expression on his face as he's looking at the names on the map. But then there's something that Snape says that makes me think that he did recognize it. He says, you don't think it more likely he got it directly from the manufacturers? and that's written in italics, so he added a little snark on the end of that.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you
mhm,
here, but it still doesn't reveal what it is,
right,
right? So like he's like, "What is this? Do you
mhm,
think he got this from the manufacturers?"
right,
Like, well, he still can't prove it's a map or
right.
anything
Yeah, he
because
doesn't
he's
know
got
it's a
this piece
map,
of parchment
but
hidden in
I
his
think he
sword.
knows that Lupin had something to do with it.
I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
I remember thinking that too, and I didn't highlight it. I struggle with how often I highlight things. I think I made like 180 notes total on this
Mhm.
book. Um, and that doesn't include just highlighting things.
Hmm.
But yeah, I highlighted a lot of things and then I made notes for a lot of other things. So,
I do love that as they're going through all of this. So this obviously this exchange between Harry and Snape took a little bit of time, but then here comes Ron busting in the door talking about, I gave Harry that stuff from Zonkos forever ago. It's like completely out of breath. Like he just ran the whole way back.
like Ron and Harry know each other so well now.
Hmm.
Ron's like, oh, but how did, all right, that was already taken so long, right?
Right.
Well, rather, the conversation with Snape and Harry was
Hmm.
that long, and Malfoy had told Snape already.
Right.
Why was Ron just getting back from running?
Because he had to figure out where Harry was. Like he probably ran to a couple different places inside the castle before he got to
Okay,
Snape's office.
I agree. And so we end this chapter with Hermione revealing a letter that she got, uh, I think from
From
uh,
Hagrid.
Hagrid,
Hmm.
that he lost his case and Buckbeat is going to be executed.
Well, I
So,
also well, that's actually the very first thing in the next chapter, in chapter 15.
well, that's also the last thing she says. Is that she was holding a
Oh
letter
yeah,
in
yeah,
her hands and her lip was trembling. So we get the reveal at the end of the chapter, and then we
right.
learn that, oh yeah, Hagrid sent this to me.
Well, I also like how right before that, like Lupin's talking to Ron and Harry, and Lupin's like, "Yeah, well, the manufacturers would have thought it hilarious that you were lured out of the school with this map." And Harry's like, "Did you know them?" And Lupin's, "We've met."
Wait, hold on. What? Say that again?
Chap, chapter at page 289 at the bottom of the page, Lupin's like because Snape says, well, why did he think I got it from the manufacturers? And Lupin says, because these map makers would have wanted to lure you out of the school. They think it was extremely entertaining. And Harry's like, did you know him? Lupin's like, we've met. I just love the way because it says we've met. He said shortly, and he said the look he was giving Harry was more serious than ever. It's like, dude, oh hi puppy.
You know, okay. I just realized that some of the italics and stuff that's in the physical book
Uh huh.
is not in italicized on
On the
the
e-reader.
digital. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, well, but I do like how now both Harry and Ron are like, you know what? Maybe Lupin's right. With Sirius Black, because Lupin's like, look, I'm trying to help you, and you're just being a 13-year-old boy and doing what you want to do anyway. He's like, but I'm not going to help you out anymore if you don't start taking all these safety precautions into consideration. And
Yeah.
now the boys are like, hey, maybe he's right.
Chapter 15, the Quidditch final. Um, let's see. So she Hermione reads the letter. Um, Ron and Hermione make up,
Mhm.
and Ron promises to help with the appeal. He's like, crap, I didn't help you with the defense, but
Right.
you know what? I'm going to help you with the appeal because this is big. Uh, Malfoy insults Hagrid in front of like he's not insulting Hagrid to his face, but he's making fun of Hagrid
Mm-hmm.
and in front of the kids, and Hermione just goes.
Punches him. Just
Um,
bam.
now let's note, Hermione is a 13-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's going through puberty, right?
Mm-hmm. She's
She's
she
probably got
just
these hormones going crazy.
I
There's
just
partly her
I love it.
problem.
It's just slapped him across the face with all the strength she could muster. She's like she reached back on it.
Yeah,
Just
and
came.
smack. Um, it's sorry. Yeah. So yeah, she goes off on Malfoy. Then they're going to like they go to Charms class, but like
Mhm.
right before they enter Charms class, like they turn to Hermione and she's gone.
Yep.
And she doesn't show up for Charms class.
Mhm.
And Ron's like, why didn't she show up? Um then hold on.
And she's not at lunch.
She's not at lunch. Uh I wrote then walks out of divination. Oh, okay. Sorry. They find her
Mhm.
and like, hey, you weren't at Charms class. And she's like, oh, oops.
Yep.
And
Well,
goes,
she freaks out. Like it wasn't just like a oops. Like she completely flips,
yeah. And then
and
they
she's
go,
sleeping. They find her taking a nap finally.
she should have done the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I missed it. Sorry, kids. Sorry, guys. I have to go to the bathroom. Time turn.
I
Go
don't
back
think
to
she
Charms.
could because she had missed it, and other people would have realized that she wasn't there.
But how does she go to both class? Somebody has to realize she's missing for
No, I
one
mean
of
like the conversation has already happened between other people that she wasn't there.
them.
That's what I'm saying. Not because like beforehand, nobody was able to like if they were like, "Hey, how was she here? How was she in that class?" Like, no, what are you talking about? She was there. But now there's already been conversation that hey, she's missed this class and she's missed lunch. So people, if she did the time turner now, it would be very obvious that something weird was going on. Because like, no, wait, I talked to so and so, you weren't there. So how are you saying you were there? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. So then they go to divination class, and uh Trelawney is like asking, "Hey, what do you see?"
Mm-hmm.
And no, that doesn't mean this. And Hermione flips out. Like, well, Trelawney tells Hermione that she doesn't have the gift for the inner sight.
Right.
And Hermione flips out on her and says, "I'm done with this class," and walks out.
Dude, this school is like just crazy.
Like,
People
you could
yelling,
disrespect teachers. I mean,
just get up and bail.
from what I hear, that's kind of the attitude that a lot of students in public schools have with teachers these days.
It's
Uh,
wild, man.
all right, so then there's tensions that's starting to rise between Slytherin and Gryffindor over the Quidditch final, and scuffles are breaking out
Well, so
throughout school.
right before that, like right after Hermione like basically storms out of the room, the Lavender's like, "Oh, Professor, remember how you said one of our number would be leaving? It was you were right." And everybody's just like she like Trelawney's like, I know, and everybody else is like, yeah, okay.
uh, yeah, yeah, good. So yeah, scuffles are breaking out
Hmm.
between Gryffindor and Slytherin students.
I love it. They're just fighting in the hallways. I love it.
Excuse me. Uh, Then Harry gets a dream. He starts having a dream about forgetting his broom, and Slytherins are riding dragons in the match. Then he wakes up and sees. He wakes up, goes to the windows, looking out at the yard, and sees Crookshanks walking the grounds along with a big black dog. And he's like, "Oh my God, the dog's there! Ron, come see!"
Yeah.
He wakes Ron up, and Ron comes over and is like, "Look over there!" And Ron's like, "I don't see anything."
Ron goes back to bed.
Like, why the hell did you wake me up?
Yeah, like I'm not doing this, dude.
And here we get that Quidditch match that was scored mostly by penalty points because both teams were just whacking each other, running into each other. Uh, basically, it was a hockey game.
It really was. This was a hockey game.
So, and Harry was keeping track of the announcer and how many points were there so that he could try to catch the snitch at the right moment, but also
Yeah, because they had to catch it. They had to be up by like
50 points.
50 or 60, however many it was. But he couldn't catch it until they were up by a certain number of points.
Right. That way they could win the Quidditch Cup and not just win the match.
Right.
But at the same time, he had to keep Malfoy from catching the snitch. So he had a big thing to fill there, right?
Well, I love how at one point, like he's trying to trick Malfoy, and so he's like going after the snitch, and Malfoy grabs hold of his broom and gets Gryffindor another penalty shot.
Oh yeah, that one was great. Um, oh, and the end of this chapter said, the last paragraph, sorry. If only there had been a Dementor around. As a sobbing wood passed Harry the cup as he lifted it into the air, Harry felt he could have produced the world's best Patronus.
Right.
He's like, man, I wish there was a Dementor here because you know what? This is the happiest moment, and I am feeling fantastic, and I would love to just destroy a Dementor. All right, so we'll move on to chapter 16, Professor Trelawney's prediction. The kids are taking all their exams, right? We got Fred and George Weasley taking their owls, their ordinary wizarding levels. I found the I'm tripping over the word that like owl and newt. What are those things called? Not exams. What the
talking like the SAT and the ACT, like the standardized test?
No, not exams. Whenever you take the first letter of each word in a phrase and
anagram.
Anagram.
No, not an anagram.
No. Anagram is something that's spelled.
That's when you mix it up.
Yeah.
Oh
my
I don't
gosh.
remember.
We are dumb this morning.
I don't.
That's what we get for recording in the morning, right?
I guess.
So anyway, I find those to be funny. Owl and newt. And just like, okay. So the Percy is taking his newt, which is the highest exams you can take. Nastily exhausting wizarding tests.
Yeah, why would you name a test that?
It sets the expectation,
I guess.
Let's see. Hermione is most afraid that she failed. But the boggart, so she when she's taking her defense against the dark arts exam, right? The boggart comes out and tells her that she's failed. It's Professor McGonagall comes out and says, "You failed your classes," and she runs out of the class screaming. She failed to produce ridiculous.
How did they because the boggart was in a trunk. And so how big was this trunk that they're going into? Like, and what kind of tests are you just going to, the teacher's like, all right, climb in the trunk.
Are they climbing in the trunk or are they opening it up?
No, they're going in
the movie. I know they had a cupboard or
well, yeah, but that was like So this is another part that's not in the movie, because like in the movie they only deal with the the class deals with the boggart once. Then Harry has one, but like so this scene right here is not in the movie at all.
Gotcha.
So, but it's just kind of weird because they're talking about um oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? They're going through all their tests. You know, gummit. So yeah, so they realize that Hermione has 4 tests on Monday. 2 of them are at the same like, and the first 2 are at the same time, the second 2 are at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it does say here, excellent, Harry, Lupin muttered as Harry climbed out of the trunk,
Yeah.
grinning. Full marks. So he climbed into an old trunk and battle with. Okay,
Like, how big is this trunk? Like,
it's a TARDIS. It's bigger on the
it's
inside.
got to be. It's got to be a TARDIS.
Yeah, we've seen that before. Let's see. Okay, that was Defense Against the Dark Arts exam.
Mhm.
The Charms exam was funny because one, we know they had to do
The
what's
giggle charm, the cheering charm.
the cheering charm, and that was taught the class that Hermione missed.
Yeah, and she had said, she's like, I'm sure that's going to be on our test.
Yeah.
So
And
knowing
sure
her,
enough,
she
it
studied it.
was. Ron and Harry partnered up, and uh, Harry was overzealous in his charm.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Ron had to be led away to a quiet room for an hour before he was ready to attempt his charm.
That's crazy.
The transfiguration exam was funny as well because like all the different students are like, were the tortoises supposed to breathe steam? Um, Another student said it still had a willow patterned shell. Do you think that'll count
Right.
against me? So they had to turn basically some willow patterned
It's a teapot.
teapot into a tortoise. And Hermione's looked more like a turtle.
Yeah, that was her biggest concern. Mine looked more like a turtle than a tortoise. It's like, it's fine.
Oh.
It's fine, Hermione.
um, so they have a break in their exams. Fudge shows up.
Well, that's because Buckbeak's appeal is the same day as their exams.
Right. And so Fudge appears to hear the appeal, but he also comes in. This is where he shows up with the very old wizard, and then the wizard with a mustache and right
And
a
he
mustache.
brought the executioner with him too.
Right. That's the second wizard.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 wizards. There's one that's really old, and then there's the executioner that has the black mustache.
Yep.
Then Harry goes. Okay, he goes to the next exam, which is the divination.
Divination.
And while he's doing there, like Ron makes some stuff up, and Ron's like, "I don't think she believed me. I don't think she bought it." And so then Harry goes in, and Harry's not seeing anything either, and he's making stuff up. Um, but he's making stuff up about
About the
the
hippogriff.
and it's funny is what he says actually comes true.
Well, but I love how he's all like, "No, the hippogriff's like flying away," and Trelawney's like, "Are you sure it's not like withering around on the ground headless?" And he's like, "Nope, nope, everything's fine. Everything's fine."
Yeah, so like both things come true, but the end result is that the hippogriff does fly off. Uh, but then Trelawney goes into this trance, and she's like, "It will happen tonight." And Harry's like,
Excuse me.
"What? What's going on? Are you possessed?" And she says, "The Dark Lord lies alone and friendless, abandoned by his followers. His servant has been charmed or chained these 12 years. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will break free and set out to rejoin his master. The Dark Lord will rise again with his servant's aid, greater and more terrible than ever before. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will set out to rejoin his master. And
Like,
in place of a Dark Lord, you will have a Dark Queen.
like it's like to me, like we're really starting to get like more like Harry tries to like be like, you're just crazy. But like we're really starting to get like some ominous, like dark energy, if you will. Like we're
Oh,
starting to
yeah.
feel like there's like, oh wait, now we all know who the Dark Lord is.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, so now we're dealing with Voldemort again. Like this is to me, this is the first time where we're really starting to get that. Now, not only are we dealing with Sirius Black, now we got to deal with Voldemort too. It's just like it's really starting to feel kind of ominous here.
Yeah. Um, let's see. We can probably breeze through some of this because I know I want to talk more. I want to spend some time on the Shrieking Shack and stuff later. Harry leaves that and is wondering if that was just some trick that she played on him or if
Mhm.
like, it was a real prediction. Um, we do find out. So the letter that he actually Hagrid lost the appeal.
Mhm.
Buckbeak's going to be executed at sunset. Um, the executioner's name is McNair, and he was an old friend of Malfoy's. So
Yep.
it's like he's going to take great pleasure in lopping the head off of a hippogriff.
Mhm.
um,
Well, I
then
like how they're like, if only we had the invisibility cloak, and Hermione is, or Harry's like, it's behind this thing. I can't go get it because Snape knows something's up, and Hermione's like, well, how do you do it? And next thing you know, she pops up with the invisibility cloak. So now we got Hermione slapping people across the face, breaking rules. Hermione's starting to come around.
yeah, way to go, Hermione.
Yep.
All right, so they go visit Hagrid, and they Hagrid is in a mess.
Hmm.
Breaks a milk jug. Then Hermione like freaks out and shrieks, and they look at her, and Ron's like, "Oh my God, it's Scabbers!"
Yep.
And he was hiding in the milk jug. Um, then then they have to leave, right? This
Yep.
this is this is where they have to get out because the executioner and the minister and
And
Fudge
Dumbledore.
are all coming um, to the thing. So they leave under the invisibility cloak, and Ron's having trouble keeping Scabbers quiet,
Mhm.
and Scabbers is going crazy, biting him,
Yep.
clawing him. And we get to chapter 17, Cat, Rat, and Dog.
Well,
And so,
we also get that they hear the axe fall, and Hermione says, "I can't believe they did it."
yeah. So Buckbeak dies. Do, 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 do. Yeah. Do, do. All right. So Cat, Rat, and Dog. So Scabbers jumps down, runs off. Um, Crookshanks chases Scabbers,
Hmm.
and they chase them into the wood lines, and Crookshanks ends up chasing Scabbers to the Whomping Willow,
Yep.
and they get there and they heard the soft pounding of gigantic paws. Something was bounding toward them out of the dark,
Hmm.
an enormous pale-eyed jet black dog. So the
The
dog,
Grim.
the Grim, attacks Ron,
Hmm.
um, pulls Ron into between some roots of the Whomping
Yep.
Willow and down. Uh, And so they're like, well, how are we gonna get him? We can't get past the Whomping Willow. So like they were getting smacked by the Whomping Willow too.
Yep.
Um the Ron broke his leg, right? This is where Ron broke his leg.
Yeah.
He didn't break it inside the Shrieking Shack.
Right.
Um and I think it was because of the Whomping Willow.
I think the dog broke his leg because
Okay,
the
when he
dog
jumped on him, trying to
because the
get
dog's got his mouth
stabbers.
around his leg and he's like yanking him, and it says you know, all he can see now is one of Rod's legs, which he had hooked around a root and so he like hooked his leg around a root to not get pulled into the thing, and the dog yanked him so hard that it broke his leg.
Ew, that sounds terrible. They're trying to figure out how to get past the Whomping Willow, and Crookshanks just walks up to the tree and puts his paw
Mm-hmm.
on a certain knot on the tree, and the tree stops moving. They're like, "What kind of sorcery is that?"
Well, and it was weird to me. Like this part made no sense to me. I don't know if this really talks about like Crookshanks and like how smart this cat is, because it says Hermione is or basically dancing around uncertainly on the spot. So she's just kind of standing still, going, "Oh, help, help, please!" And then Crookshanks is like, "Okay, fine." It goes and pushes this knot and makes the tree stop moving.
You're confused about the intelligence of the cat?
No, it's just weird to me that Hermione's like standing there going, "Help, help, help," to nobody because there's nobody there but her and Harry. And
Right.
then after she does that, Crookshanks like runs out and pushes the knot on the tree, and the tree stops. So it's like, was Crookshanks waiting for you to ask for help, or what's going on here?
I don't think there was much time passing by. It's like Ron gets pulled in, and while Harry and Hermione are dodging the Whomping Willow, and she's like, "Excuse me, oh my God, the dog took Ron. We're out here. We can't get to the tree because the Whomping Willow is
Mm-hmm.
just like, help, somebody help."
No, it says whispered. Hermione whispered frantically
Hmm.
because they're standing away from the Whomping Willow, so they're not getting hit because they know they can't get close. And it says, "Oh, help, help!" Hermione whispered frantically, dancing uncertainly on the spot. Please. So that's why I'm like the cat, and then it says Crookshanks darted forward.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm
I
like,
don't,
what's going like that's the connection between Hermione and Crookshanks is what I'm getting at. Like
yeah. Yeah.
Crookshanks is like, cool, the dog got the rat, we're good to go. But now Hermione's like, oh my God, I need to get to my friend. And so Crookshanks is like, huh, okay, I'll help her get to her friend.
So I still think this is her calling for help, but more like a plea, like sometimes when you're doing something, you're just like, "Oh, please help me."
Right. Yeah. But I think we're kind of saying the same thing, but the cat is the one that hurt her because it says she's
I think the
whispering.
cat was going to do it regardless.
Well, we'll never know. We'll have to ask J.K. Rowling.
Well, let's have her on the podcast. Come on, JK, let's go. Um, all right. So they're in the tunnel,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, where does this like? It's a long tunnel.
Yeah.
Where is this coming out of? And so they
Pretty
come
big
out
tunnel
to,
too.
yeah. Although Snape kept hitting his head.
Yeah.
Like why they didn't on the way out, why they didn't have him like on a gurney
Mm-hmm.
instead of standing up. Like so they come out the tunnel that's described as a room, a very disordered, dusty room. Paper was peeling from the walls. There were stains all over the floor. Every piece of furniture was broken as though somebody had smashed it, and the windows were all boarded up. And Harry quickly realizes, oh, this is the Shrieking Shack. So now they
No,
have a.
Hermione said that.
Oh yeah, sorry. I read Harry. Okay. I read Harry, and then I think we're in the Shrieking Shack. So. Hey, thank you for correcting me. I appreciate it.
I'm here
Keep
for you, sir.
yeah, we can't have our listeners having the wrong information.
Yeah, because it's funny because he's like, well, Ghost didn't do that. So looking at the torn up furniture.
Oh yeah. So they're going. Where's the dog? So trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Um, they're walking through trying to find it, and they find Ron.
Yeah, they go upstairs because they could see where the dust had been cleared, like because something got drug upstairs.
He's like, are you okay? And where's the dog? He's like, it's not a dog. It's an animagus. Like
Mm-hmm. It's a trap.
he's the dog over
Yeah.
there. And so then, oh yeah, Black has, sorry, Black has Ron's wand.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Expelliarmus's
hard set of words to say there. Black has Ron's wand.
Black has Ron's wand.
Almost like it sounds like you're saying wonton.
It actually sounds like I'm saying Ron Swanson.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I think I
He
have
casts
wontons on the brain because I'm hungry.
he casts Expelliarmus. I'm hungry too. We're going to brunch uh shortly after we record here for Christy's birthday. So
Nice.
a nice little place called Elsie's Plate and Pie. So uh sorry for the silence. Black disarms Harry and
And
Harry
Hermione.
and Hermione. Harry ends up attacking Sirius.
Mm-hmm. Well, because he said, you're so much like your father. Your father would have done the same for me. Brave of you to not run to a teacher. And and Harry takes that as serious as like taunting him.
Yeah, and you
So now
would,
he attacks
I
him.
would too. Like,
Oh, 100%.
I don't know anything except what people have told me about
Mm-hmm.
Black, and I'm tired of people talking about my dad.
Yep.
And that seemed like, oh yeah, okay, he wouldn't go tell
Yeah.
somebody.
One last little jab, and Harry's like, I got a jab for you right here, bud.
And so Harry attacks Sirius. Then Ron, Hermione, and Crookshanks all join into the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Ron and Hermione. Ron is limited in what he can do because his broken leg, but Crookshanks joins on Black side.
Well, because they're sitting there saying, if you want to kill Harry, you're going to have to kill all of us. And to me, like what happens, the next thing that Black says is like the first sign that maybe everything is not what we think it is, because it says something flickered in Black's shadowed eyes. Lie down, he said quietly to Ron. You'll damage that leg even more. Like if he was going to kill him, he wouldn't care if Ron hurt his leg.
Right.
Like to me, that was like the first little flicker of wait a second, why does he care about Ron's leg?
Mm-hmm. I'm reviewing what, yeah, I'm reviewing all the highlighted things I did. So yeah, Ron says, if you want to kill Harry, you'll have to kill us too. It said, didn't care. There'll only be one murder. So Black was like, yeah, there's only going to be one murder here tonight.
Right.
Harry's like, why is that? Trying to wrench himself free of Ron and Hermione. Didn't care last time, did you? Didn't mind slaughtering all those muggles to get at Pettigrew. What's the matter? Gone soft in Azkaban? So this is where Ron and Hermione are like, you can't kill him.
Right.
You can't kill him right now. Like,
Yeah.
nobody knows anything about this, and you're gonna go to Azkaban or whatever. You know, you can't kill him. And Harry loses. He's like, he killed my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're
It's
preventing.
just full out is going to go attack him. But
Yeah,
then again, here we get another instance of if Black was really going to kill Harry, it says, perhaps it was the shock of Harry doing something so stupid, but Black didn't raise the wands in time. So it's like I think it's because Sirius doesn't want to hurt you, Harry. Like it's not that he didn't want to. If he was going to kill you, he just would have killed you.
And then so the knuckles of Harry's other hand collided with the side of Black's head, and they fell backward into the wall. And so, like, this actually reminds me of Good Will Hunting, where comedian.
It's been a long time since I've seen Good Will Hunting. I just know the only ones I ever know from Good Will Hunting are is because Robin Williams isn't in that, is he?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I was trying to think of Robin Williams' name. So Robin Williams is like, it's okay. It's okay. And Matt Damon's character, Goodwill, or Goodwill, Will Hunting was like, Will's like, don't you do this to me. Don't you do this to me. And he's like, no, it's okay. And he's like, he like took the doctor took all the punches or the swings or the emotional part from him, you know, even though he like, because the doctor connected with him. And he's like, I understand this. But I totally agree. It's like, he's giving all these hints out. Like, hey, look, I'm not trying to kill you. Now,
Crookshanks also attacks Harry.
Yeah, Crookshanks joined the fray. Both set of front claws had sunk themselves deep into Harry's arm. And he tried to get Harry's wand, and Harry's like, no, you don't. And aimed a kick at Crookshanks that made the cat leave the side. He's spitting. He's like, get out of my way.
Harry ends up with a wand.
Yeah, I'm
Sirius,
sorry.
Sirius Black's on the ground.
All the quietness.
You're fine.
Lupin shows up.
Well, hang on. Right before Lupin gets there, he says, so Sirius Black's on the ground. Harry's got his wand pointed at him, and Sirius is like, you're going to kill me? And Harry says, you killed my parents. The next thing that Lupin said, or that Sirius says, is, I don't deny it.
I don't deny it.
But if you knew the whole story, and that's all that Harry needed to hear. I'm accusing you of killing my parents. You said I don't deny it. And now Lupin shows up after some more back and forth. But yeah, Lupin disarms Harry.
Yeah, Lupin runs in, disarms Harry. Then, so Lupin's shouted, I trusted you, and is wavering out of control. And all the time, you've been his friend. Oh, no. Black said to Lupin, I trusted you. No, Harry, sorry. Harry told Lupin, I trusted you, and all the time you've been his friend. And Lupin's like, you're wrong. I haven't been Sirius's friend, but I am now.
Yeah.
Let me explain. No, Hermione screamed. Harry, don't trust him. He's been helping Black get into the castle. He wants you dead, too. He's a werewolf. And there was
I love how Lupin's like, not up to your usual standard. Only one out of the three. He's like, you're wrong on 2 accounts. You got the werewolf part right, though.
Yes, you got the werewolf part. There was something I thought it was right before this where Lupin still thought that Black was dangerous to Harry. I think
I don't think so, because whenever he walks in, he says, then Lupin spoke in a very tense voice, where is he, Sirius? And he's like, wait, what? And he says, and then he looks back at Black and says, why hasn't he shown himself before now? Unless he was the one, unless you switched without telling me. So at this point, like Lupin now knows that Sirius is not a danger to Harry at all.
Right. No, he still believes, like, that was the moment And
Yeah.
I understand this now.
Hmm.
The switching part, I understand this now,
Right.
having gone back since finishing the book,
Hmm.
that he's referring to the secret keeper.
Right.
The fact that Peter and
Was the secret keeper
and
instead of Luke.
Sirius
Hmm.
swapped. Yes. And this is where Lupin realizes it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh
Like this was Lupin's aha moment.
yeah, which was confusing in this moment. And it's meant to be so that we don't fully understand, where
Right.
like the tension is still there. But when I first read it, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How did what just clicked
What just happened?
what just clicked in Lupin's mind?
Yeah.
And it's like, unless, like, why hasn't he shown himself before now? And so like he's talking about Pettigrew.
Yeah. He's
Like,
Lupin's working through this whole scenario right
like,
now.
right. But up until that moment,
Hmm.
he still thought that Black was the secret keeper and gave up.
Yeah.
Lupin still thought.
Yeah. Until that very moment. Yeah.
And so that's when he's like, you're wrong. I haven't been Sirius's friend,
Hmm.
but now I am.
Yeah. Because he finally worked it out.
Yeah. He still didn't explain it in this chapter either. When he said, let me explain,
Yeah.
he didn't explain his aha moment.
Well, because like there's so much arguing back and forth that nobody's getting a chance to get a word in edgewise.
Right. And this chapter was so like, not just this
Chaotic.
chapter, but the whole time in the Shrieking Shack
Hmm.
is, I think, excuse me, in the book and in the movie, they do it really well, right?
Yeah, it's pure chaos.
And I will say in the book, it like this climax
Hmm.
happened very towards the end. In the movie, and I didn't go back and rewatch it or even look at the time. I was going to look up the timestamps of when they actually went back in time and how much
Hmm.
movie was left.
Right.
But it felt like there was so much more left in the movie after this scene
Yeah.
than there was in the book.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, because in the movie, so like in the movie, Hermione doesn't hit Malfoy until they're on their way to Hagrid's house. Like she hits him, and then they just go to Hagrid's house like right after it. And there's a bigger gap
I don't,
because in the movie when they go back in time, that's like the first time they see each other is like they're like, oh wait, there we are, because there's Malfoy, and
it
so like,
didn't in the, we'll get to that in a
mhm,
minute, but I swear there was something else that happened in the movie when they went back in time. But um, so Hermione is working out. Lupin's trying to work out how Hermione figured out he was a werewolf.
mhm,
It's like, did you check the lunar chart and realize that I was always ill at the full moon? Or did you realize the boggart changed into the moon when it saw me? She said both.
yeah.
She said that very quietly. She's like, both.
Well, and it was
Lupin
because of
just
Snape,
laughed
and
about
it
it.
was because of Snape's essay. Like that was what kickstarted it for.
Yeah. Uh, doo-doo-doo.
And I love this though. He's like, I'm not helping Sirius. Give me a chance to explain. And then he just goes, look here, and he gives all the kids their wands back. And he's like, you're armed. I'm not. Can we please
And
talk about
neither is
this?
he.
Yeah. And he's like, can we please talk about this? And this is where we get to the map. And he talks about the Marauders map. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah. He's like, I was in my office, checking out the map. And Harry's like, you know how to work it? He's like, yeah, I wrote it.
Yeah, of course I do. Like, I helped write it. I'm Mooney.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
And then then he talks about the cloak. And he's like, wait, you know about the cloak? He's like, you know how many times I saw your dad use that cloak?
And
So,
it's like, where is the cloak now? Oh
mhm.
yeah, it came off outside the Whomping Willow.
Yeah. And then, so we go through all of this, and he's like, what do you mean the rat? And Sirius is like, yeah, that's not a rat. That's Peter Pettigrew. He's an animagus.
Yeah. So
And
we get the big reveal.
yeah, so we get that, and then we go to the next chapter,
Mooney,
and
Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs.
and I love how Hermione's like, no, he can't be an animagus because everybody keeps up. Like there's an official list of the animagus, and he's not on it.
With the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah, she's like, he's not on the list, so it can't be true. And he's like, I'm not on the list, and I'm an animagus.
Yeah. Yeah, so the ministry never knew there were 3 unregistered ones because they had to register showing what animal they become and then their markings
Yep.
and other things.
Mm-hmm.
And here we find out the full friendship of them, right? So
Yep.
we find out that the Shrieking Shack was never haunted. The screams and the howls of the villagers used to hear were made by Lupin.
Yep.
And so whenever, so we get Lupin's backstory that he was bit as a kid and became a werewolf. Dumbledore stuck up for him and said, "Yeah, you can. I trust you. You can be a student here, and to protect you during that month, we'll put you in the Shrieking Shack."
And we're going to put this killer tree on top of it.
Right. We'll put the tree on top of the tunnel to get to the shack, and you'll be protected. And so, like, it wasn't until the 5th year where the other 3, James, Sirius, and Peter, had perfected their animagus spell.
Yep.
So that they could turn into animals because the werewolves don't attack other animals. It's just the humans that they're a danger to. And so in their 5th year, they turned into animals so they could go hang out with their friend Lupin. And this was so we also find out that Wolfsbane is the potion that Snape has been brewing for Lupin this entire year. Also, that all the staff and professors know that Lupin is a werewolf, but they didn't want to inform the students.
Right. Yeah, because the Wolfsbane potion is pretty new. Like it's a really, it says he just kind of, he's able to keep his, it's kind of like we were talking about the difference between the spell for D&D where like if you're a druid and you turn into your animal form, you keep your mentality, as opposed to if you get hit with a spell and you don't. That's basically what this Wolfsbane potion does. He turns into a wolf, but he still knows he's Lupin.
Right.
As opposed to if it happens during a full moon, he just goes full wolf.
Yeah. Let's see. Making sure. Yeah. So then they created the map as a kid. And I didn't write down exactly why they created it.
They really don't say. It just says that's how we came to write the Marauders map, is because of all the time they spent running around the grounds as animals. So that's really all it says. I do love
found
how
out. Yeah, they discovered a lot of the secret passages. Peter, being a small rat, they used him to go and touch the secret knot so that they could all get into the Shrieking Shack.
A little bit of foreshadowing there that Peter, his animal, was a rat.
Yeah.
You filthy rat.
So they still haven't revealed, right?
No, we go from like pure chaos and action to a very, very long, drawn out backstory.
Right. But like it's that chapter actually starts off with Sirius Black. Hold on. Crookshanks was thrown to the floor as Black lunged at Scabbers. And so it starts off where he's trying to grab the rat.
Yep.
It's like, and then they go off into, they're like, he says that's Peter Pettigrew. And Ron's like, no, it's not. And then they go into this whole backstory. Whole story. So we still haven't had we have the accusation, but we don't have the reveal yet.
And now Black figures out that Snape is still here. Then they start talking about Snape, And then he's like, yeah, Snape always wondered where I went every month. And so I played a joke on him, and uh James Potter figured out what was going to happen and talked him back, kind of talked him back out of it. And he's like, so that's why Snape doesn't like you? And that's right. And now Snape pops out from underneath the invisibility cloak. But I'm like, I wonder, like, how long was he there? Like, did he hear like all of this about Pettigrew potentially being the rat? Like, how much of this conversation did he hear, or did he walk up just in time to hear, oh, that's why, you know, that's why Snape doesn't like you? And he's like, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, nobody does, because it's just like, there it is. So we are now at the Servant of Lord Voldemort, chapter 19.
Yes. Um, all right. So we find out that Snape was just in Lupin's office and realized that he had forgotten to take his potion.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which we now know, which we kind of kicks this ominous feeling up a little bit, because we know that Lupin only drinks that potion right before he transforms.
right. So Snape actually has it with him. You forgot to take your potion tonight. Oh, no.
He doesn't have it with him.
He took. I've been to your office, Lupin. You forgot to take your potion, so I brought one along to your office. And very lucky I did, because lucky for me, I mean, lying on your desk was a certain map. So he found the map. He saw the names on the map, and
but
that's
but he doesn't so he just follows Lupin, because the map doesn't show the Shrieking Shack.
right. But he should have seen all the other names, right?
Mm-mm.
Why not? Why only Lupin?
Because the rest of them are already in the Shrieking Shack.
Oh, so it doesn't show.
It
It's
does
not
not it does not
showing.
show the Shrieking Shack.
Okay, strange magic.
Prongs and them didn't decide to put that on there. It only shows the grounds, and the Shrieking Shack is in Hogsmeade, not on the grounds of the school.
Oh, excuse me. Um, Man, I didn't take great notes or highlight much in this chapter because I was just like so involved, like so
Yeah,
much.
it's a lot of stuff happens here, because I mean, right now Snape is like overjoyed that he's like, sweet, I get to put two people I don't like in Azkaban. And
Right.
Lupin's like, no, no, you don't understand. Snape makes them, like, he conjures up rope basically.
Yeah, it ties up a Lupin
Yep, and it's
and Black.
and Black,
Black's
and is
going.
threatening. He's got his wand like right at his face, going, "Just give me it. Do something. Do something.
I dare you.
Say what again?"
And then that's when, all right, Harry goes to cast Expelliarmus, but at the same time, Hermione and Ron cast it. So he gets hit with a triple dose of Expelliarmus,
Mm-hmm.
which blasts him back and knocks him out.
Well, and right before that, like, Snape is like becoming unhinged, because Hermione is like trying to talk like sensibly. He yells, "Keep quiet, you stupid girl! Don't talk about what you don't understand." Like, so he's like losing it, because
And then
he hates these people so much, and that's
yeah,
whenever he gets hit with the
his next line was, "Vengeance is very sweet."
yeah.
At Black, he breathed at Black. How I
Mm-hmm.
hoped I would be the one to catch you.
Yep.
He's like, well, the joke's on you, Cerberus. It's like, as
But
long as this boy brings his rat up to the castle,
yeah.
I'll come quietly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, up to the castle?
Yep.
I don't need to go that far. The Dementors are right there.
Right. Yeah. I'm good to go. And then Harry's like, "You're pathetic. Just because they made a fool of you at school, you won't even listen." And then he yells back, "Get out of the way!" And that's whenever he gets hit with the triple shot of Expelliarmus.
Yeah.
And I love how Hermione's, we attacked a teacher. We're in so much trouble.
Dude, can you imagine getting hit by like, but it's essentially 3 gunshots or 3 kicks or punches to your hand?
All at
Not even
once.
to your hand. I mean, it's your whole body, and just
Knocked him out.
conveniently so that he doesn't see everything that happens next, right?
Sees nothing.
Like he would be the one, like if he saw it all,
Yeah.
his testimony alone would have prevented everything
It
else.
would have cleared everything.
Yeah. But he was knocked out. And so next um
Well, we get the whole reason about how Black, now we get more backstory. We figure out how Black knew that Pettigrew was alive
mhm.
because he got the paper from Fudge.
Yeah, the photograph of Ron and his family that had appeared in the Daily Prophet the previous summer, and he saw scabbers on Ron's
Mhm.
shoulders, right? So Lupin was asking Sirius, like, how did you find out
Yeah.
where Pettigrew was?
Mhm.
And that's when he takes that picture out.
Right.
Go. I
Oh,
interrupted
my
you.
bad. Yeah, so he's like, there he was. I saw the rat, saw the missing toe on his paw because the only thing they found of Pettigrew was a finger. He's like, so I knew right then that was him.
Yeah, and Black also says just before he transformed, when I cornered him, he yelled for the whole street to hear that
Mhm.
I betrayed Lily and James.
Right.
So Pettigrew's like, Sirius Black killed Lily and
And
James,
then blows everything up.
and blows everything up and transforms. So then, before I could curse him, he blew apart the street with the wand behind his back, killed
Mhm.
everyone within 20 feet of himself, and sped down into the sewer with the other rats.
Yep. So he goes into the whole thing about, uh, that's
Befriending
not true. You were their secret keeper. You said so. And he's like, I mean, I basically did kill him because I convinced them to use this other guy to be their secret keeper, not realizing he
because,
was working with Voldemort.
and the reason why is because nobody would have expected him
Yep.
to be because of how weak he is.
Yep. He was like everybody knows I was the Potters, like I was James's best friend. Everybody would have suspected me to be the secret keeper.
But
And
not him.
so I thought I was going to pull the okey doke and give it to this guy at the last second, not knowing that I basically gave this dude his best information ever.
Yeah. So Black did go explain here how he befriended Crookshanks.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Talks about how smart the cat is.
yeah, he's like, the cat isn't mad. He's the most intelligent of his kind I've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
He recognized Peter for what he was right away.
Yep.
And when he met me, he knew I was no dog. It was a while before he trusted me.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I managed to communicate to him what I was after,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been helping me. And so that's when, you know, let's see.
We found out that Scabbers faked his own death,
Yeah, Scabbers faked his own death. He,
and Crookshank stole the passwords for Sirius.
yes, yes, exactly.
And we finally get the big reveal of them turning the rat into Peter Pettigrew.
Yes. Sorry, we said a few things out of order, but let's see here. So you see, I had to do something. I was the only one alive who knew Peter was still alive. Harry remembered what Mr. Weasley had told Mrs. Weasley. The guards say he's been talking in his sleep, always the same words. He's at Hogwarts. So yeah, we get that reveal that
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't talking about Harry.
He was talking about Peter.
He's talking about Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, how dare you face him? How dare you talk about James? Okay, yeah, we get a big reveal that Peter uh, Scabbers turns into Peter Pettigrew, and he is he pleads for his life,
Hmm.
after revealing he was Voldemort's spy.
Well, and he spends this whole time, like the first part of this, like he's very skittish, like a rat would be. Like because I mean he spent 12 years as a rat, so he's like constantly looking around, looking for exits. Like he's very skittish, and he also keeps trying to like convince everybody else that Black is still the one working with Voldemort.
Right.
So,
And like he's asking Ron, he's
mhm.
asking Harry, and I feel like I'm skipping over something.
There's just the whole like Black is basically like telling Peter like, you know, you weren't hiding from me for 12 years. You've been hiding from Voldemort's supporters because everybody knows you had something to do with this. They blame you. So you were just saving your own skin. You weren't trying to hide from me.
In the end, Harry, like Sirius and Lupin want to kill Pettigrew.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry is the one that's like, no, you can't.
Yeah, we gotta set the record straight here.
If we kill him, then that's the proof. Like if he's alive and we prove that he's alive,
Mm-hmm.
then that is a big piece of evidence. And so like Snape never saw Pettigrew.
Right.
Snape's been knocked out.
Well, we also get the explanation of how um Sirius got out of Azkaban because Hermione's like, if you didn't use dark magic, how did you get out of Azkaban? And Pettigrew's like, yeah, exactly. And Black is like, it's actually kind of easy. I knew I wasn't guilty, but it wasn't a happy thought, and I could transform into a dog. And the the Dementors kind of left me alone once I was a dog.
Yeah. I thought it was in the next chapter.
Mm-mm. Still chapter 19.
One day, sir, I will learn how to read my notes and remember
You say that almost every episode now. It's kind of like how I say the
the
thrilling
thrilling
conclusion,
conclusion. Yeah. And when we say, I find it interesting.
right?
Should we move on to chapter 20?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a whole bunch of back and forth here between the two of them, and Black is basically saying, "I never betrayed him. I would have died." Uh, Pettigrew's begging Ron. He's like, "I've been your pet for this long. Surely you won't let them do anything to me." He
And
goes
Harry
to
says, look, I'm not going to let them kill you, but if you do transform, then we will kill you.
Yeah, there's a lot right here with Pettigrew about because now they're starting to. I think everybody's kind of starting to believe it that okay, maybe Black is like the kids are at least they're starting to believe that Black is telling them the truth, and Pettigrew's doing everything he can to get out of this, and he's like Black is like yelling at him, "You've been passing information to him for a year before Lily and James died. You were his spy." And he's like, "You don't understand. They would have killed me." And Black is like, "You should have died then, because I would have. If because like they were my friends, I would have died for them, and you just gave them up." And then we get you can't kill him. We got to set the record straight.
They start to get everybody ready to get out of the Shrieking Shack.
Yep, they get everybody all tied up, and they're
And men
bringing them out.
bandage up Ron.
Mm-hmm.
They cast the spell or charm on Snape to
Mobile
mobile,
corpus.
mobile a corpus, which I have an issue with because he's not a corpse.
Well, corpse. I mean, corpus is just. I mean, it's like basically Latin for a body,
Okay.
kind of.
But in English, corpse refers to a non-living body.
But also refers to trees.
Corpse, a dead body, especially of a human being rather than an animal, yeah.
But maybe because he was passed out and immobile.
But it also says in Middle English, denoting the living body of a person or animal. But
They're in England,
so mobilize the corpse. Yay!
yeah. So
And
now
so they
we're
start to go out.
chapter 20, the Dementor's Kiss. That's ominous.
Oh, very ominous. So during this time, I didn't highlight it, but I know Snape's head keeps hitting the tunnel, the roof, I believe.
Yeah, it says Harry had the impression Black was making no effort to prevent this.
So while they're coming out, though,
Mm.
Sirius is like, Sirius extends an invitation to live with him because, like, you know what? I'm your godfather.
Yeah.
Parents appointed me your guardian if anything happened to him. It's like, you wouldn't have to stay with your aunt and uncle.
You could come live with me.
And Harry's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
Best day ever.
And that's as they're walking through the tunnel. They get out of the tunnel and they're like, oh, it's dark. And then the clouds start to part and the moon shows through.
Yep.
And Lupin starts to transform into a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, Black turns into
Black turns into a dog
to protect the kids and allow the kids to get away. In that chaos, Scabbers or Pettigrew turns into Scabbers and
scampers away.
scampers away. Also, I'll say he has been a rat, not even for 12 years. He was a rat longer than that, and not just an animal. You know, he was a rat for Voldemort.
Yeah.
Kind of fitting, right?
Yeah.
Smell a dirty rat. So Black turns into a dog to protect the others. He gets subdued and runs off. So Lupin runs off.
Yep.
Black chases after him. Then Harry chases after them.
Yeah. Everybody's running.
Everybody's running everywhere. Pettigrew runs off as Scabbers. Then while they're down by the lake, Harry finds a wounded Sirius who's being subdued by Dementors. So the Dementors are trying to do the Dementor's kiss.
And there's about 100 of them.
Yeah. Harry's like, Hermione, you have to help me cast Patronus. And she's like, what? She's like, yeah, just expecto Patronus. And she's like, oh, okay. And so she's trying, and she passes out from the Dementors now. I guess from her attacking the Dementors, they're like, no, you're not going to do this. Harry is having trouble, and right before Harry passes out, like, he sees a bright light coming from across the lake and a figure off in the distance.
Yep.
That figure looks familiar.
And
you know, he thinks it's his dad that he sees.
Yeah, and like the whole part of this is like he tries to cast this charm over and over and over again, and the Dementors are actually getting ready to do the Dementor's kiss on Harry.
On here, yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, this out of nowhere, this bright animal gallops across the lake, and
he thinks it's a unicorn.
He said it looks like a unicorn. It was as bright as a unicorn, is what it says. And because unicorns are shiny and stuff, and it drives all the Dementors away, and then he passes out.
Yeah.
And
that's
now we
that
get to
chapter.
That's the chapter. that is the chapter. It's pure chaos. Him trying to cast the Patronus like 900 times. It doesn't work. The Dementors try to kill him, and something drives them away. Chapter 21, Hermione's secret.
Yeah. And so here's where we're gonna get into the actual reveal of the time travel.
So I did think that it was cool how the start of this chapter has a little hourglass as the chapter art, page 386, for those of you following along in the paperback.
It's funny, it's page 156 in this digital version for some.
That is crazy.
But it does show it here.
Does it? So now
it shows all the graphics and everything.
But... Oh, cool. So Snape wakes up all of a sudden.
Yeah, and
I don't remember if he woke up during all of the. It doesn't really say anything about Snape waking up. We get all the Dementors. As far as we know, Snape is still passed out. And then at the start of this chapter, now Snape is awake.
Snape is awake.
Yeah.
And all the kids have been brought in, or everybody that was down at the lake has been brought into the castle.
Yep. They're all in the hospital wing all of a sudden.
Fudge is talking about giving the Order of Merlin second class, or maybe first class.
Maybe first class.
To Snape.
Mm-hmm.
For rescuing the students, right?
Yeah, and then Snape is like, "Yep, Black bewitched them. I know a Confundus charm when I see one." And this is what I love. Like the whole time, like all the kids, like, "No, we weren't under the Confundus charm. Like we knew," and they're like, "You're crazy." It's like,
right.
It's almost like Snape's trying to help them out here. He's like, "No, you were under a spell," and they're like, "No, we weren't."
Yeah, we were not
talking about.
And nobody believes the kids, right?
Yeah, nobody
except for Dumbledore.
Mm-hmm.
And Sirius is also awaiting the Dementor's kiss.
Yes.
Can't say the name Sirius because my phone thinks I'm saying
Siri.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently they did not. The Dementors were unable to perform the kiss on Black or Harry because the we'll just call it the Patronus. The Patronus saved them both.
Yes, that's what it is the Patronus.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dumbledore's in the room, the hospital wing, the hospital ward with them, and tells Hermione that, if you're good enough, you could save more than 2 lives tonight.
Well, save more than one, but I love how Madame Pomfrey is like livid. So these are my patients; they're under my care, and Dumbledore's like, "Poppy, please. I need a word. Just give me a minute."
Not just to her, but to so Poppy wants everybody out of the wing. Yeah. And Dumbledore's like, "Excuse me, Minister. Excuse me, so-and-so. Excuse me, Pomfrey.
I need all of y'all.
I need all of y'all out of here." Mm-hmm. And so then he talks to the kids and tells Hermione three turns of the dial should do it.
Yeah, and he's also very careful to say exactly where Sirius is by using the windows. He's like 13 windows up, second from the left. He's like very specific about that and says, "Yeah, 3 turns ought to do it."
And so
but he also tells us, like, "Look, Sirius did not act like an innocent man." He's like, "Yeah," he's like, Snape's story checks. Nobody's going to believe some 13-year-old kids over an adult. And look at the way Sirius was acting. He's like, "You've got nothing, and there's nothing that I can do that's going to change this. However, if you 3 turns ought to do it, and here's the window that he's at. Goodbye."
Right. So we go back. They leave. Oh no! They don't leave. Dumbledore walks out, locks the door, and she turns back the dial. They go back in time. Harry.
She loops the necklace around Harry
and herself.
And so Ron is completely passed out. Like Ron's still passed out.
So Ron never even finds out that they time travel.
Nope. See, and in the movie, he's awake. Because when they come back, he's like, "You were there, now you're there," and they're like, "We can't be in 2 places at once. What's wrong with you?" But in this one, in the book, he's completely knocked out the whole time.
Yeah. So Harry and Hermione go back. They end up freeing Buckbeak when everyone is in the hut. So here's the thing. I feel like there was a giant chocolate bar, by the way. And Snape was, before they went back in time, Snape was actually advocating for Harry to be suspended.
So they go, and now we go back in time, and Hermione has to explain what the time turner is, and that's how she's been going through all of her classes and all this stuff, and she's explaining why time travel is dangerous, how you can't it's super important that you can't see yourself. She even asked, she's like, what? She's like, what? Honestly, Harry, like, if you saw yourself, what do you think? Would you think is happening? He's like, I would probably think it was one of Voldemort's supporters, and I would attack it. And she's like, exactly.
Yeah. So when they're rescuing Buckbeak, while everybody's inside the shack and they've come to sign off. So McNair, if Buckbeak has indeed been stolen, do you really? Oh wait, no, this is after that. But when they were in there, Dumbledore's like, "Hey, no, you need to sign this too."
Yeah,
Provides a
it
little
seemed
bit more
very odd
time.
that all of a sudden he's like extending out this visit.
Yeah, like he almost knew.
Yeah.
And so again, later on, when they've run off into the woods, McNair's like, "We should search the grounds in the forest."
Yeah.
And
And Dumbledore's
Dumbledore's
like,
like,
let's look at the sky.
I mean, look, do you think a thief would have let him away on foot? I mean, it's a
Right.
hippogriff. Search the skies if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then Haggard, he says, Haggard, I could do with a cup of tea or a large brandy.
Like, all right, Dumbledore, my guy.
It seems like Dumbledore knows.
No, 100%.
How can you stand this? He asked, just standing there and watching it happen. I'm going, oh, while they're watching, Harry wants to grab the cloak
Mm-hmm.
and save.
Well, he's trying to do all of it. He wants to grab the cloak. He wants to grab Scabbers. Like he's trying to stop Snape. Like he's trying to do everything that Hermione's like, you can't do this stuff. He's literally trying to do the butterfly effect. He's like, well, if I just do this,
Yeah,
if I do
if I do
this,
this, then this doesn't
yeah.
happen.
And she's like, you've got to stop.
And while they're watching, they do nearly get run over by Lupin.
Mm-hmm.
So where if it's like we gotta move, it's like why?
Because
Because
the werewolf is coming this way.
the werewolf is about to come this way. And this
See, and
whole
that's another thing that's super different in the movie, because in the movie,
Harry makes an attack to save Black, doesn't he?
no, in the movie, whenever Lupin transforms, Hermione does like a wolf call. She like starts howling, and that's what brings Lupin away. And then they're like, "Oh crap, the wolf is coming," and Buckbeak saves them from the werewolf. That's
Oh,
in the movie. So that's one of the things that's super different, because in the movie, right as Lupin's getting ready to just like start attacking the kids out of the tree, he hears a wolf and he's like, "Oh, cool, there's a
yeah.
wolf." And he goes running off.
Hey, cool.
Like it?
Apparently Zoom does. Yeah, I thought there was something that happened differently, like somebody attacked somebody, or there was a
Mhm.
noise or distraction that came from them going back in time. Couldn't remember exactly what it was, but you do. That impeccable memory, sir.
Got a brain like Swiss cheese most of the time.
Well, I like Swiss cheese.
So
Harry's
he,
watching to see if his dad shows up to do the
Mhm.
Patronus, and he's waiting. He's waiting. He's like, "Wait, no, that was me.
Yeah.
I have to save myself." And goes out and casts the Patronus, which ends up being a stag.
Well, so again, it's weird because that's jumping forward a little bit. He sees Hermione sees Lupin transforming. They're out of the tree, sees him transforming, and they go to Hagrid's. He's like, it's empty, so they go to Hagrid's, which does not happen in the movie at all. They run into the cabin, and then they're in the cabin. He's like, you know what? I've got to go see what's happening, and so they go down to watch. And that's when he's like, I know my dad's going to show up. I know it was my dad. And then he's like, wait a second, it was me. And he jumps up and yells expecto patronum, and then we get the stag.
Yes,
And he's like, I knew I could do it because I'd already done
done
it.
it before.
So
I knew it was going to happen
yeah.
because once I realized it was me, then of course it was going to happen.
Mhm.
because it happened already.
Right.
Oh man, time. So they then
So, real quick, just real quick. So Harry had already done a Patronus at the Quidditch game, and they figured out and they talk about it being a deer later, but right here, Hermione goes, Harry, I can't believe it. You conjured up a Patronus that drove away all those Dementors. That's very, very advanced magic. But he'd already done it once in front of everybody. Are we just supposed to forget that happened?
maybe she's referring to the number of Dementors.
Maybe.
Because as you said, there were about 100.
Yeah. But I just like, but she was like, but she's like, oh my God, you did a Patronus. It's like, we've already seen him do this once.
Yeah.
Like, are we just supposed to forget that he did that entirely? Like, this is the first time you're seeing a Patronus type deal? I don't know. Anyway, so now the Dementors are gone, and
they fly Buckbeak up to the castle window and free Sirius, have Sirius drop them off on top of the castle.
Yep.
And Sirius is like, oh, by the way, Harry, I sent you the broom.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know.
They would
I
figure
knew
that out.
Like, you didn't even have to point that out. But thanks for the confirmation.
Yeah. Well, I like he's like, yeah, consider it third. Well, no, that comes later on the Owl Post.
Yeah.
So, but
That's
I just love how he was like, hey, hop on this hippogriff and fly away. And there's like, okay, cool, done. Like, no question, just out. So now they got to hurry up and get back. Now, chapter 22, the Owl Post again, and they got to hurry up and get back into the hospital wing without being seen.
yeah. When they show up, they show up right after Dumbledore locks the door.
Well, they almost get caught by Peeves. So again, Peeves is like there when he was. I really hope that whenever they redo the book series into into a TV series, that we get the ghost. I really hope
Oh,
that
you
happens.
want them to remake it?
Apparently they are. Like there's already talks of it. There's already talks of them
Strange.
doing it as a series instead of a movie.
Why though? Like, honestly,
I don't know.
I mean, sure, there's things missing from the movies, but the movies are iconic.
I don't know because everybody redoes everything nowadays. I don't know.
And well, I mean, you should at least wait 50 years or something before you redo it.
I mean, they've already redone Mean Girls.
Yeah.
So anywho, so they make it back in.
Oh yeah. So at the end, like Black was gonna say something, but then Harry's like, "Go.
Yeah,
We
we don't have time for this.
we
You
don't
got to
have
go.
time." So now we're on chapter 22, Owl Post again. And continue. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh no, I was so yeah. So we're at the Owl Post. They make it back into the hospital wing, and Dumbledore's like, "Sweet, I have no idea what you're talking about." Like he tries to do the whole plausible deniability thing. They're like, "We did it." He's like, "Did what?" Bye.
Here, let me unlock this and let you in.
And then as they so they make it back in there, and Madame Pomfrey's like, finally, the headmaster's leaving. I can look after my patients. And like then all of a sudden they're kicking the door open, and Snape is like, I know Potter did something because Sirius
Dumbledore's
Black
like, "Are
is
you saying?"
gone.
Dumbledore's like, "Are you saying he can be in two places at once?"
Right. Yeah. So
Fudge
he's like,
is
they
worried
helped him
about
escape. I know you did it. And Fudge is like, dude, like I think you've snapped. Like you're going a little crazy.
the Fudge worries about being the laughing stock uh, because of the whole bungled situation.
Yep.
Lupin resigns The
Yep.
Dementors have to be removed from Hogwarts because they attempted a kiss on an innocent student.
Hmm. I like that Fudge says, maybe we should have dragons guarding the school entrance.
When Harry, Ron left the hospital wing, it was almost to find a deserted castle. However, the kids, all the other kids were at Hogsmeade, and so Ron, Hermione, and Harry were sitting near the lake watching the giant squid waving its tentacles lazily over the water. Harry lost the thread of the conversation as he looked across to the opposite bank. The stag had galloped toward him from there just last night. I think it's funny there's a giant squid in the
Hmm.
lake.
Just
And
hanging
they
out.
just watch it do things.
Hmm. So now we find out that Lupin's leaving and he goes running off the scene.
Oh, and so in retaliation, so sorry, Snape, sorry, Professor Dumbledore managed to convince Fudge that Lupin was trying to save their lives.
Right.
And so that caused Severus to lose his Order of Merlin, and he got pissed, so he told everybody
That he's a
that
werewolf.
Lupin was a werewolf.
Hmm.
At which point, the parents were like, "Oh no," or they were afraid that the parents were going to be like,
Yeah.
"We can't have a werewolf as a teacher."
Yeah, he's like, after last night, I see their point. I could have bitten any of you, and I can't let that happen. And and I like how Lupin's like, tell me about this Patronus. But again, like, well, I guess it makes sense that he would ask because he wasn't at the game. He wasn't at the Slytherin game.
No,
So and he figures out that that's why they called James Prongs because he turned into a stag, which is cool that was what Harry's Patronus was.
and Lupin gives the Marauders map back to
Yep.
Harry. And you know what? I don't have a issue giving this to you because I'm not a teacher anymore.
Yep.
And Harry's like, "Hey, you said that they would have wanted me
Hmm.
to use it to lure me out of school. Why? Why'd you said it was being funny?" He said, "Yeah, I have no hesitation in saying that James would have been highly disappointed if his son had never found any of the secret
Hmm.
passages out of the castle."
Yeah. He also gives him back his invisibility cloak.
Yes, well, I mean that was his dad's. So
Right, but he just saying Lupin's giving him all the stuff back.
uh he does reveal that Pettigrew owes his life.
Dumbledore does. So Dumbledore's here now.
Okay, so yeah. Dumbledore reveals that Pettigrew owes his life to Harry.
Hmm.
He says, "You have sent Voldemort a deputy who is in your debt. When one wizard saves another wizard's life, it creates a certain bond between them. And I'm much mistaken if Voldemort wants his servant in the debt of Harry Potter."
Hmm. And he's like, it's funny because like this is another one of those times where something has happened, and it's like unintentional magic, if you will. Because whenever Lily gave her life to protect Harry, it created that protection bond,
Hmm.
which is why Voldemort couldn't touch him in the first book, or in Chamber of Secrets in the second book. So no, Chamber of Secrets was the first one. Second one.
Chamber of Secrets is the second book.
Yeah. But the Philosopher's Stone was the first book, or the
Yes.
Sorcerer's Stone, and that's why Voldemort couldn't touch him in the first book, was because of that magic. So now we've got another like deep unintentional magic bond between Harry and another wizard.
Yes. And we get Dumbledore talking about the Patronus,
Hmm.
and he's like, the Patronus was a stag, and I wish I could have seen my dad. And he says, do you think the dead we have loved ever truly leave us? You think that we don't recall them more clearly than ever in times of great trouble? Your father is alive in you, Harry, and shows himself most plainly when you have need of him. How else could you produce that particular Patronus? Prongs rode again last night, which is very very nice, very
Very, very
sweet.
touching. And I do like how he's like, he admits, yeah, Sirius told me how they all became animagus. He said, extraordinary achievement, most like, but referring to how they kept it quiet from him and how he never figured out that they were all animagus. Because with
Yeah.
everything that Dumbledore knows, he didn't know there were 3 students that were animagus.
And then the last thing of note in the book is the letter from Sirius Black. And so it starts off, Crookshanks took the, oh, it didn't start off that way. But here is where he reveals that he was the one that bought him the firebolt, and goes on to tell him how he bought it. And says, Crookshanks took the order to the owl office for me.
Right.
I used your name, but told them to take the gold from Gringotts vault number 711, my own. So he's vault 711. I wonder if they got some slushies in there.
I didn't see a vault number.
It's in the second part of the letter. Let's see if I can.
It says I used your name, but told them to take the gold from my own Gringotts vault. I don't see a 7-Eleven on here. I'm looking at it.
I mean, you can read my version right there. Number 711. My own.
I'm just telling you, I don't see. It's seriously not written here.
Show me your copy.
I look. I can show it to you all you want, but it's not there. It doesn't matter. There's a discrepancy between our copies. I'm telling you, there are no numbers written here. None at all.
Maybe that's why we've had so many discrepancies.
Maybe because it's seriously not written. I've read. I'm looking at it right now. It's not there.
And so, of course, the last thing that happens of note is he sends a permission slip that says, I, Sirius Black, Harry Potter's grandfather,
Godfather,
hereby give him permission to visit Hogsmeade on weekends. Too bad if they ever go during the week. He can't go.
He can't go on the week. And then he gives the owl. So there's a little bitty owl that delivers this letter on the train, and he gives the owl to Ron.
Yes, he gives the owl to Ron.
And I do like that Ron's like shows the owl to Crookshanks. Like, you think it's an owl?
Oh, Hermione does drop Muggle studies.
Yes, she realizes she is way overtasked, and she drops a couple classes.
Yes, which is funny. It's the end of the semester, end of the school year. So I guess it's so that she doesn't have to take it next year.
Yep. And I do like how they get there, and Ron's talking about, Ron had mentioned Harry coming to see them for the summer, so they can go to the Quidditch World Cup, and Uncle Vernon's like looking at the Weasley mom and dad, like, oh, I bet you these are some of those people. And Harry runs up and hugs him. He's like, "Yep, that's those people." But then the best thing, Vernon's like, "What's that? Another form for me to sign?" He's like, "Nope, it's a letter from my godfather." Godfather? Like, yeah, he's a convicted murderer. He's broken out of Wizard's prison. He likes to check in on me. Love it. The look of horror on Uncle Vernon's face. It's like, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, that's the book.
That's the book. My second favorite.
I still think Prisoner of Azkaban.
I still think so. Out of the 3 we've read, Chamber of Secrets is my favorite of them. Then it goes to Prisoner of Azkaban, and then Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah, I like what I like, and I said this before. Like, so now we spent this whole book, or the first 3/4 of the book, worried about Sirius Black, and then at some point now we're not only just worried about Sirius Black, but now we're also worried about Voldemort. And now we know that Voldemort has got a servant. So, like I said, this book really sets up that, hey, there's something big coming, because now we have to worry about Voldemort again.
And they also did mention, we skipped over it, but they did mention at some point that there are others loyal to Voldemort that are out there.
Yeah, well, we talked about that when we were talking about how Sirius was saying to Peter Pettigrew that, hey, you weren't hiding from me, you were hiding from the other supporters. So
Gotcha.
we did kind of.
Oh yeah, okay. I think I was looking up something while you mentioned that.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to read something and have a conversation.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
anyway, I will not keep you because it's your wife's birthday and y'all have got brunch to go to.
she's still asleep right now.
Oh,
She had a
nice.
late night, but not about a book. We'll figure out what we'll talk about. My birthday's next Sunday.
Oh, right on.
Or Sunday coming up. If you're listening to this on Friday, the 18th is my birthday. So anyway, so conversation next week. Then all right, well, thank y'all for tuning in. And like I don't always say, but I probably should. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button, hit the subscribe bell, all those things.
All the
If
things.
you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon, leave us a rating and review. It really does help with the podcast getting out there so that more people could listen to us and enjoy us if they want to. Feel free to share this on your social media. You never know who actually is interested in things that you're interested or you're not interested in. And
This
so
is true.
you might just share it and they'll never tell you that, hey, thanks for sharing that. I really like that. But they'll see it and then they find something new.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you care about either one of us or you care about any of your other friends, and they're doing something cool, go ahead and do that.
Share.
Yes.
Share.
It costs nothing.
Sharing is caring.
And it costs nothing. All right, Mike. Well, thank you for spending this conversation with me this morning.
Absolutely. Tell your wife happy birthday and go football.
Go football.